if we catch John Doe and he turns out to be the devil, I mean, if he's Satan himself, that might live up to our expectations. But he's not the devil. He's just a man.
You know, see, you bitch and you complain and you tell me these things. If you think you're preparing me for hard times, thank you. But
you got to be a hero. You want to be a champion? Well, let me tell you, people don't want a champion. They want to eat cheeseburgers, play the lotto, and watch television.
Hey, how did you get like this? I want to know.
Well, there wasn't one thing, I can tell you that.
Go on.
I just don't think I can continue to live in a place that embraces and nurtures apathy as if it were a virtue.
You're no different. You're no better.
I didn't say I was different or better. I'm not. Hell, I sympathize. I sympathize completely. Apathy is a solution. I mean, it's easier to lure yourself in drugs than it is to cope with life. It's easier to steal what you want than it is to earn it. It's easier to beat a child than it is to raise it. Hell, love costs. It takes effort and work.
We are talking about people who are mentally ill. We're talking about people who are fucking crazies.
No, we're not. We're talking about everyday life here. You cannot afford to be this naive.
Fuck off. See, you should listen to yourself. Yeah, you say that the problem with people is that they don't care, so I don't care about people. It makes no sense. You know why?
You care?
Damn right.
And you're gonna make a difference.
Whatever. The point is, I don't think you're quitting because you believe these things you say. I don't. I think you want to believe them because you're quitting. You want me to agree with you and you want me to say, yeah, you're right. It's all fucked up. It's a fucking mess. We should all go live in a fucking log cabin. But I won't. I won't say that. I don't agree with you. I do not. I can't.
When retiring police detective William Somerset tackles a final case with the aid of newly transferred David Mills, they discover a number of elaborate and grisly murders. They soon realize they are dealing with a serial killer who is targeting people he thinks represent one of the 7 deadly sins. Somerset also befriends Mills' wife, Tracy, who is pregnant and feels alone in their new surroundings. Together, the two detectives trace the killer's every step, witnessing the aftermath of his horrific crimes one by one as the victims pile up in rapid succession, all the while moving closer to a gruesome fate neither one of them could have predicted. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode we'll be covering 1995's Seven, directed by David Fincher.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Double Feature. We are here covering David Fincher's 1995 Seven, all of which has just been told to you by Colin, so I don't know why I'm repeating it. Colin, how you doing? Yes. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Guys, I know that this is going to be a bit of a behemoth episode, so I am not going to plug socials. If you want socials, go and find them in the show notes up below. Like, they're going to be there,
or
all
the
the links,
mid-roll.
everything,
Yeah.
whatever. Or the mid-roll. I just don't think we have time for it this episode. What I am going to plug, though, is our Patreon. If you do want to hear more of us, head to www.patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature and become a Green Room member. That'll give you exclusive access to our bonus episode. All right, man. Look, let's not bury the lead anymore. Everyone knows that Seven is just my movie. like, you know, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast so many times now, and I can't believe that we're already, we're here covering it. Like, you know, this is one of those movies that is just totally, you know, like, it's been in the back of my mind since we last talked David Fincher, which was when we covered Zodiac all the way back on episode 5, dude.
Jesus.
Like, you know, yeah, like that's the last time we talked Fincher, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, Fincher to me is a Rushmore director. Like, he is, you know, if you give me 4 directors to choose from, David Fincher's 100% on there. Like, his filmography to me is just one of my just my jam, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Patrick, but I like The Social Network, so fuck you.
It's okay, but I like Social Network. I don't have any problems with it.
Yeah. But look, Seven. I'm not going to get my thoughts into it. I want you to go first, Colin, because I've been dying to know what your thoughts are on this movie. Because why?
Because I have never seen this before until today. I've never sat down. I even knew. I knew who John Doe was. I knew how John Doe operated, how they couldn't catch him, and even what happened at the end of the movie. And I was still like,
so you know everything.
I know everything.
Like,
it's a movie. If it's a highly acclaimed movie, that's fucking 25 years old. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. You'll take information in by osmosis, pretty much, right?
Yeah, like the scene with the guy strapped to the bed. I saw that in Bravo's top scariest movie moments of all time 15 years ago. I saw that such a long time ago. But it's still like I was watching this with Lindsay. And as we're watching it, the scene comes up with the dude strapped to the bed, and I was just like, kept eyeballing over it. And the second that dude like, she jumped in. I was like, yes. But it's hard when you have a movie that is I don't want to say like so built up, but I mean it kind of is. Not by you, not just like Zoheb just fucking. It's by everyone. It's very easy for me to get frustrated with these kind of movies and get people set expectations too high, I think sometimes. And if there's one thing I've said on the show is this shit is underrated or overrated constantly. And with Se7en, I was pleasantly surprised because I feel like most of it is absolutely earned. I feel like probably 98% of the praise that this movie gets is earned. I do think it's a masterpiece. I do think it's extremely good. I don't love Brad Pitt in this movie. I'm going to be honest.
Interesting.
I mean, but he's fucking next to Morgan Freeman, and this is when Brad Pitt wasn't Brad Pitt yet. Like he was still, he was in some shit, but he was not Brad Pitt of today, of like Brad Pitt of like 2010, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like Brad Pitt type shit.
This is also pre-Fight Club, right? I mean, like
hell
this
yeah.
is like
it's like
David Fincher
several years, yeah.
Yeah, he'd go on to do The Game after this with Michael Douglas, and then he did Fight Club. But I'm pretty sure, did 12 Monkeys come out before this?
I don't know. I want to say that's either the same year or like 97. You're talking about Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah. Let me just quickly have a look.
Dude, that's another movie I've never seen.
Yeah, the same year. Year.
Okay, I was going to say,
I've never seen another.
I know it's 95 or 97, but I've never seen it.
But True Romance and Interview with the Vampire came out the year before. So
yeah, okay. So
he was known. He was known.
He was definitely known. But like before this, have you ever seen California with him and David Duchovny? Dude, he plays a crazy motherfucker in that movie. Like it's Brad Pitt. Like you don't really see Brad Pitt do crazy shit like that anymore. But let's put it this way: he ain't no motherfucking Benjamin Button. But with this movie, the only thing that I'm mad about is that I only watched it once right before we recorded, because a lot of these things I really like to just kind of like. I like getting hit in the head with a frying pan, kind of, and walk right in the door, just being like, "So, what was your experience?" Well, I kind of like to come out of them like fresh off the very, very fresh, and not let stuff like simmer. But with this one, there's so much stuff to take in right off the bat. It sucked me in right away because you start the fucking movie with 9 Inch Nails. I love 9 Inch Nails, and I was like, hell yes, dude! Some fucking Trent Reznor, which I mean, he would go on to do what he didn't Reznor do The Social Network as well? And it's like obviously these guys get along.
And the girl with the dragon tattoo, they love each other.
Yeah, they're probably both a fucking couple of assholes and like crazy perfectionists and stuff. But there was something about the movie that it felt like, because here's the thing, I had seen the Batman trailer before I ever saw Se7en. So I was like, dude, this is drenched in Se7en. Come on. Like, it's like, there's no way. Like, you're so fucking drenched. I didn't absolutely love Brad Pitt. I think this might be one of the best things I've ever seen Morgan Freeman in his life. He's absolutely stunning. Did anybody win any Academy Awards for this, by the way? I assume you know.
No.
That's
no one did.
Fucking bullshit, dude. That is fucking bullshit. That's like snubbing Jake.
Right?
That's like snubbing Jake Gyllenhaal for Nightcrawler. Fuck you, dude.
Well, here's the thing. I have a theory about this, and I think it's because it's just such a dark movie, and it's so inaccessible to a lot of audiences that it's just like, like it was nominated. It was nominated for an Oscar. It was nominated for editing, out of all things, right? But I mean, I would have given this a cinematography and even like a sound mixing or like score, like the score in this is absolutely understated.
Dude, the SWAT team break in, you better get that fucking track ready, dude. If you don't, I will stop the recording. I will stop the fucking recording and get up and go get my laptop.
Dude, everyone, I do have a track. I do have a track ready, and I'm sure everyone knows exactly which one it is because it's look, we'll get to it, but man, I just love that. The excitement. You can hear the excitement in my voice now that I know your thoughts, because I'm just glad you liked it, honestly.
Yeah, dude, I honestly, I think that even if this is something that's not your subject matter, I don't like rom-coms, but I can appreciate when a rom-com is very well made. And I don't really have a lot of I'm not coming at this like we did like Prisoners or Nightcrawler. I don't have really a lot of philosophical and moral questions about shit, because I don't know, a lot of the times there's stuff where like Prisoners has some really great meat on the bone. Is this justified, what he did? And I guess we can actually get into that at the end of this. Like, do you feel like David was justified for what he did? And that can go either way. I don't think you can blame him, but there's also plenty of people that's like, man, if you played right into it though, and it's like you prove him right. It's like, that's crazy. I feel like I'm amazed there was never, if there's not like a test audience, like they want you to change the ending, like have a happy ending thing.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
I was gonna say there's no fucking way, dude. What had David Fincher done before this? Alien 3? Like, dude, you're not getting shit.
I'll get into all of this. Don't worry.
But ultimately, I love the. You know how much of a sucker I am for horror movies. I didn't really feel like I was watching. I felt like I was watching a detective noir, kind of like I felt like Deckard in the bathroom getting the scales out of the bathtub type shit. I was like, cool. I get that feel. We got guys in trench coats and shoulder holsters, and it's always raining. I fucking love it. I fucking love it.
That's why I'm always surprised that you've never seen this, dude. Like, I feel like this is somewhat made for you. Like, it's dark, it's grimy, it's grungy. And I'm just like, it's got that drama, detective horror as well. So I'm just like, how have you not seen this? That was always
what I noticed. One thing about the movie that you just hit on, the dirty, grimy, dingy parts of it. There's like, even the stuff that's shot in the day, there's never a goddamn ray of sunshine physically in the whole movie. It's like, you don't ever see just like people on a park bench on a nice cloudless summery day, and it's like it's always raining and dark and dreary, and it just feels like fucking Gotham in Batman Returns, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
But you need to be in the mood for that.
Yeah. Well, and also seeing it rain constantly, that actually kind of made me, I was like, okay, there has to be some hidden meaning here, because it is raining. I know it doesn't say where they are on purpose. I assume this is Seattle because it rains every 4.5 minutes. But I laughed because I was like, dude, it is always raining. And I was like, there's got to be some kind of, crazy, I'm sure, this David Fincher that's not there just because he likes rain. There's something there. But all in all, I really liked it. I like Gwyneth Paltrow in this. She comes across as really charming. I don't love her. I think that I don't really love her. I don't really love Brad Pitt. I think you can kind of, not that they're interchangeable. It would be a very different movie without them, but I could argue that it could be the same, if not a better movie with the right people. But I do think it is an extremely well done movie. And I thought this was written by David Fincher, and that was not the case. I thought this was like David Fincher's brainchild. And I was like, oh shit, wait, no. Okay, gotcha. What is it, like Andrew Walker or something?
Andrew Kevin Walker.
Okay, gotcha. That is what was interesting to me is reading it, that this was not David Fincher's like love child movie. But I'm sure that what that guy had in mind and what David Fincher had in mind are probably two totally different things that just, meet in the middle. But I think my favorite parts of this movie, honestly, are, like you said, the dingy, dungy, grimy parts of it. Like when they go, right, when they go into the sloth room. And I was like, dude, there's something about that room with nobody in it. If I woke up and I were in that room, I would be terrified. And I was like, there's something so dirty and awful and disgusting. Like, you walk in and there's air freshener everywhere, and you go, what the fuck is going on, dude? And shout out to John C. McGinley, Dr. Cox from Scrubs. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. I love Dr. Cox, man.
Even when he's in the helicopter, dude. He's just like, we got a bomb.
He got
the bomb squad.
he got stuck with these kind of guys for a while. Like he was in like Animal with Rob Schneider. It's because he's jacked. He's in such insanely good shape. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. There's not a lot of I was kind of hoping for like, all right, where's some like crazy morality substance like talk? And I was like, it wasn't, not that I'm disappointed it wasn't really there. I was expecting prisoners, but I'm not disappointed with what I got because from a podcasting point of view, it's still, I think it's an incredibly good movie. I'm excited to finally be covering it, and I'm glad that I don't think that it sucks.
I am glad that you don't think it sucks too. Well, man, like this is 100% to me, it's a flawless movie. It's something that I would like. Look, and I know it's dirty and dark and whatever, and really dour. I find this somewhat rewatchable. I don't know why I find this like really rewatchable, because every time I watch it, I pick up new things every time I see it, and especially this time now for the podcast, the amount of things that I was able to uncover and like in detail, I was just like, oh my God, like I can't believe I missed that. I can't believe I missed this. So it's going to be really interesting to go through this episode and, point those out. Just really quickly about The Rain. Here's something that really kind of like stood out to me, especially for this watch. So the Rain, the city is always in constant downpour until John Doe surrenders. It's kind of like the city has been like gripped by this kind of like evil maniac until he surrenders. And in his final scene, it's super bright. It's all sun, it's all sunshine. So it's, so like to me, it's kind of like, the world has been somewhat relieved of this person, but at the same time, like he won, right? I don't know. I just think that like that's my kind of like take on The Rain before I do forget to bring that up. But look, man, like there is like a story behind the making of this movie. So David Fincher very famously had a terrible time on the set of Alien 3. He was really young when he made that movie. The studio kind of wanted someone a bit more malleable to take James Cameron's place. And, like David Fincher just is on record for saying just how terrible of an experience he had. And he was actually ready to quit directing. Can you imagine that, dude? We would never have gotten like Social Network, like Gone Girl, just these like huge, like
Zodiac.
Zodiac, Fight Club. Like we would never have gotten these movies. But he was ready to quit directing and wasn't keen on making another movie. And the studio actually sent him an older draft of Andrew Kevin Walker's script. And Fincher just totally fell in love with this. And this script, dude, is this movie as we see it now, currently, right? Although it was old, it was an outdated script. The studio actually was meant to send him a script with a different ending.
Okay.
So New Line was unhappy with the original ending and had meant to send the rewritten screenplay. Fincher loved Walker's original ending so much. However, he only agreed to take on the film if it remained true to the screenplay. The studio didn't love Pitt becoming Wrath and murdering Doe, fearing that it would make him less sympathetic. And instead, the studio was kind of like, look, let's have an ending where Doe kills Mills and Doe is then killed by Somerset. And the cast and crew agreed with Fincher, saying that this is the more superior ending. With even Brad Pitt, like, dude, Brad Pitt was like so on board with this ending that he felt so strongly about it that he actually threatened to not shoot the ending of the movie.
I heard that.
Like he lobbied really hard for this. Yeah, absolutely. But man, like I think this movie just goes into just the kind of genre that I'm into, honestly. Like it's not particularly horror, but it's kind of like it's a mystery. And it's a movie that just unpacks layers upon layers as it goes on. It's not I think it is philosophical. Like we'll get into like the different kind of like themes and morals or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Brad Pitt is fantastic in this. You know what? Because like, okay, look, the first time I saw it, I thought he was a bit too much. Then as I kind of like understood the Mills character a bit more as the movie went on, and in my subsequent rewatches, I was like, okay, so Mills is supposed to be this particular person, and this is like the person that they're trying to set up in the script. And a young Brad Pitt, to me, is just the perfect casting. I agree that Somerset, dude, Morgan Freeman as Somerset is a goddamn revelation.
Yeah,
like,
he's so good.
He wears the fucking experience kind of like worn down. I've seen too much of this place. I
Yeah.
really just want to give all this up kind of like really well, man. Kevin Spacey, okay, look, we should talk about him, but just very briefly. Kevin Spacey, it's hard to talk about him, right? I mean, it's hard to approach him. We've said on this podcast countless times, we've been looking at covering The Usual Suspects for a very long time, but like, you know, now that Kevin Spacey's situation is happening, and then we had Bryan Singer directing that movie, it's just really hard to approach The Usual Suspects. But Se7en was like, okay, dude, I can't not talk about Se7en. Like, you know, like I can't, like, I need to talk about Se7en. So it's kind of like, we kind of need to separate Spacey, the person, from Spacey, the actor, because Spacey, the actor, is just capable of such impactful shit, especially in this movie, dude. What was your like kind of like reaction? We'll get to the scene when Spacey shows up. Did you know Spacey was in this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I even knew the detective. Like I even knew the pitch,
nice.
the timbre, and everything of his voice. Sorry, Rebase says like, what did I think of Spacey in this?
Yeah, because it's also like, did it kind of like mar your experience on it? Like now that what we know about Spacey, or what's alleged about Spacey?
No, not really, because it's like, even though it's not something that, like, I was actually thinking about this the other day with one of my favorite movies growing up called Powder, and it's made by Victor Salva, who did Jeepers Creepers. And anybody knows anything about Victor Salva, he is a pedophile, and he, you know, was convicted and everything.
He's convicted, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
Oh yeah. He was Coppola's fucking protege, and he was convicted. I was like, shit. But I mean, when I was 15 and, 12, 13, 14, 15, and Jeepers Creepers was coming out, I had no idea. You know, I had no fucking clue. And it wasn't until much later I found out. But it's still harder for me not to watch Powder and love Lance Henriksen, Jeff Goldblum, Mary Steenburgen. And it's like, dude, their performances are so good. But when it comes down to this particular thing of watching Kevin Spacey in it, you know, I don't absolutely... You know, he's not Heath Ledger's Joker. He's not blowing my socks off or anything, to the point where I'm like, you know, where I would be just so, I don't give a fuck what he did, kind of and that's not what I'm saying that you're saying, that you don't give. Obviously, I know that you give a fuck, or you wouldn't have brought it up. But what I'm saying is, like, I guess, you know, not that you could just replace Kevin Spacey with somebody else in it, because I think, I mean, you could replace anybody in this movie, but it would be so different. But with Kevin Spacey's thing, there is this quiet kind of, like, he looks like he eats like crackers one at a time and wipes the corners of his. It's just very clean, efficient, methodical. Tidy. Yes, very head shaven, no facial hair, thin. Like he's a very plain, like, kind of guy. And I think there's something actually about, you know, versus if fucking Ed Kemper had walked in, you know, that's a character. That's a guy with a name, versus John Doe walks in, and it's like, the thing is that you blend into a crowd so well, and that you're so nothing and nobody and plain Jane. That's what's scary to me. It's just like walking by Ed Kemper, you're like, oh shit, this is a big, scary looking motherfucker. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer would just blend into a crowd, and it's like, oh, that's what freaks me out. I'm like, I don't give a shit about Jason or Michael or Freddy or Pennywise. I don't ever care about that stuff. I'm terrified of, like, waking up and there's a guy with a gun in my throat or something. You know, I'm like, oh fuck, like, that's the shit that scares me, is the shit like this. The shit could, although this is so fantastical, the shit that could, quote unquote, actually happen. You know, like, anything in this movie is plausible. You know.
No, totally, 100%, dude. But look, I don't want to spend too much time on my opening thoughts. So look, we'll get into this as we go along. I just want to say, you know, this is 100% in my top 10. Like, there has never been a time that I've never seen this movie and been like, no, it's not in my top 10 or anything. Like, every time I watch this movie, I'm just like, yep, top 10 movie for me. I definitely think that it's David Fincher's best film. Like, it's the one that I just resonate, you know, with. And yeah, man, like, I'm finally glad we're here. Like, you know, this is just excitement of it for me.
Yeah.
I guess we have to remain happy because of how fucking bleak this movie is. Jesus Christ. But let's get into this. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Awesome. So we meet Detective Somerset. He's pretty OCD with his badge, keys, pen, and knife, laid out pretty straight. He even flicks off some dust on his suit, right? We're literally kind of like a minute in, and we already kind of get the sense as to what kind of person Somerset is. Like, you know, just the way he's kind of laying out the things for the next day. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know who was initially offered the role of Detective Somerset?
John
This
Malkovich.
is crazy. No.
Yeah.
Al Pacino. Yeah. This is okay. Look,
No. Shh. It's like you opened up a bottle of wine. You have to let me smell this real quick. And like,
this is okay, but interesting part. This is the same year as Heat.
Son of a dude. Could you imagine if he was in Heat and Seven back to back? Jesus Christ, dude! Suck both of my dicks. Like Jesus Christ.
And no joke, the other person offered the role of Detective Somerset was REM's Michael Stipe.
No, he was not. Fuck you.
Swear to God.
Dude, do you know how big of an REM fan I am?
I know now.
I'm a huge REM fan. I've been listening to them all. I just recently
the role
of Summer. Dude, have you ever seen what Michael Stipe looks like or sounds like?
Yes, I do. I've seen what he looks like.
Because he kind of just sounds like I believe that the city is worth fighting for. And I could not imagine Michael Stipe from REM. What's the frequency of cat at? What's your like, dude? What the fuck? I could not picture that. I think you're fucking lying.
Totally. I'm not. Look it up, dude. Look it up. All of my information is vetted, and I went to
this is when Michael Stipe
public library. No.
Michael Stipe, I think he was like getting into movies. He did, they did Man on the Moon, and then I think he produced Being John Malkovich for New Line. This is New Line, like that makes sense.
So this is also not the original opening. The original opening had kind of like Somerset's dream place where he wanted to retire, and they actually apparently they actually had storyboards to shoot it. But they pulled out of this because they ran out of money. So, David Fincher talks about, how I wanted to have Somerset, riding the subway from his, dream retirement place or whatever, and then entering the underbelly of the city, and just, the
coming down the descension?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And, the whole color palette just changing. But, yeah, this is a crime of passion that he rocks up to. And just look at all that passion on the wall. Interestingly, Somerset is worried about the kid seeing it, right? And the cops just what? Who gives a shit, right? He's just all of this stuff, dude. The kid seeing it, it's menial to regular police officers. He says it has nothing to do with us, but this is important because it tells us that Somerset's heart is kind of full, right? He needs to relax, he needs to chill, he needs to go fishing or some shit, dude. He's quite clearly really attached to the innocence of the city.
Right. And I'm bringing this up. I do not mean to challenge you, but I Googled Michael Stipe REM. Did you say he was supposed to play Somerset, Morgan Freeman, right?
Yeah. Did I not? Did I fuck that up?
Because apparently everything that I'm reading, I just punched in Michael Stipe 7 and everything brought up he was supposed to play John Doe. And I was like, that makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Hold on. Yeah, sorry. He was supposed to play John Doe. I misread that. I'm so sorry.
Woo. No. I was dude, you get the fuck. And it's because that makes total sense.
That does make sense.
Michael Stipe as him would blow my fucking. That is a very good choice. That makes a lot more sense. Sorry, I did not mean to question you, but I was just
that's my bad. It's actually here in my notes. He's supposed to play John Doe, not Somerset, and I just misread it. But yeah, totally.
I saved you 8 emails. You're welcome. I'm just kidding.
I know. Guys, come on. Don't send this shit into me, right? Listen to the entire episode before you send in your hate mail, please. Detective Mills enters the scene and introduces himself to Somerset. Mills was originally offered to Denzel Washington. No joke. Denzel Washington.
I think this is right around the time of Fallen. I think I like that more, man. Yeah. I think I do, to be honest.
I like it, but again, it's the more I get to know Mills as a character, the more I agree with Brad Pitt, because I was very much like you. I was like, Brad Pitt's the weakest part of this movie, but I don't agree with that anymore. They walk out into the rain. Mills is really keen to get into it. He wants to get right to the precinct. And Somerset asks why he's here. Why all this effort to get transferred here? Why did he fight to get reassigned here? And Somerset is impressed and intrigued by all this. Mills says, the same reasons as you. Same reasons you decide to quit. Mills worked homicide for 5 years, but Somerset highlights that he didn't work homicide here, and he will do best to remember that, right? Mm-hmm. Dude, this scene where they're just literally just walking and talking outside, took them 27 takes, according to David Fincher.
That's David Fincher for you, though.
Yeah, he is the Stanley Kubrick of our time, right? Like,
Yes.
he will really keep hammering you until he gets the shots that he wants. And dude, even like in the commentary that I was like listening to, he's still talking about like, yeah, he's like, even now I wouldn't shoot this as low as I would. Like, you know, he's got like regrets. And it's just like, you took 27 times to shoot this like minute-long scene and you're still not happy with this. It's kind of crazy. But Fincher also talks about like how he specifically in this scene didn't want to see the city behind them. Like he kind of just wanted to get like a more of a feeling of the city with people walking behind them and stuff. Because he really just wanted to focus on the two characters as they're getting introduced, which I thought was a pretty good decision.
And everything feels very like close and like claustrophobic in that way. You don't see a lot of like wide city shots. It's not like Heat, you know?
Exactly. Like it feels very intimate, right? Somerset falls asleep to a metronome, blocking out the sounds of the world outside. I think this metronome stuff, I didn't give much weight or appreciation to the first few times I saw it, because to me it says a lot. It says that Somerset, before going to bed, his mind is still running and it's just not going to shut down unless he's got something else in the room with him. Like, you know, like something to fall asleep to. It's like when people fall asleep to TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like it just calms his mind. Yeah. And then you get the iconic opening titles done by Kyle Cooper. This inspired a bunch of titles for going forward, dude. Most notably, probably American Horror Story. Like it's that really kind of like jagged, you know, like look into like what this movie's going to be. It's like a 45-second trailer for the movie, pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
Well, you've got the time right there. Don't use it stupidly. Just, you know, use I don't see David Fincher being like, yeah, just throw the credits up there. It's like, no, everything is, you know, something. It's not there for nothing. It's there for something.
Totally. And David Fincher talks about that, you know, like this is these little shots that we get of John Doe, like, you know, writing in the notebook and cutting out these, like, you know, just everything that he does in this opening sequence. It's about like the fetishizing and just how much John Doe enjoys this. Like, you know, it gives you a glimpse into how meticulous he is. And I just thought that was really clever, dude. So Monday, Mills wakes up next to his wife, Tracy, before heading into work. Dude, Gwyneth Paltrow, I think it was a smoke show back in the day. I think, look, she's a beautiful woman, but man, I think back then, like, were they together? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? They were together, right?
I think so in some shape, form, or fashion, but I'm not.
Okay.
I can't be, who cares? But I can't remember to the extent,
Yeah, I think I must have missed that issue of Us Weekly, but anyway, like the role of Tracy was initially offered to Christina Applegate, which is, I mean, like,
I like Christina Applegate. Yeah, she's great.
Before Anchorman, I don't think I'd seen her in anything, to be honest.
She was in a huge show here called Married with Children, but that's like, that came out.
With Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. I didn't know if, that's like a couple of years before I was even born. So I was like, I don't know if that was popular in the old Aussie land there.
Ha 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 ha. Mills is standing in the pouring rain with a cup of coffees before his partner Somerset shows up and they get into this horrific crime scene. Pitt talks about, quote, how great it was when they had all these rain towers set up, dude. Like just getting the rain dumped on him, like in pretty much every scene.
Yeah.
And like it was just a grueling. Fuck off, Siri. It was just like a Siri just popped up. Just like a grueling time, apparently.
Apparently, filming in rain really. Hank Azaria was talking about that on the set of Godzilla, and he was like, "Dude, it's horrible when you're in a set that's raining all the time." He's like, "It fucking sucks." Like, yeesh. Now when I see rain in film, like, I was like, "Oh, that's gonna suck."
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into the gluttony murder scene because, man, you get the face in the plate of spaghetti for about 45 minutes. Mills questions why nobody checked vitals and makes a comment about how this is done around here, to which this cop takes some offense to, right? Like, Mills is kind of, if you watch the movie, he's a little rude to beat cops. Like, you know, like he kind of like
got a chip on his shoulder.
Up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like he's just like, I don't think he's kind of like, I'm the best cop alive. Like, I don't think he's exactly Al Pacino in Heat. Like, you know, he's not like walking around strutting his stuff, but he's got that superiority complex, right? Like it's a little apparent.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't try the shit with Somerset, but with beat cops where it's like, you're nothing, get the fuck out of here. Like, oh yeah.
We mentioned the score briefly at the start. This is done by the great Howard Shore. Like, you know, and this is where the music really starts to kick in. It's these like soft horns, dude. It's just it's beautiful, and it's there. Like it's throughout the movie. Like, you know, you won't even notice it, but it's there. And man, the atmosphere here as they walk in is just incredible. The flashlights cutting through the darkness, the lamplights, the cockroaches as they're scattering away, the flickering TVs.
Yeah. That was kind of my complaint when they first walked in, and I was like, God, it's so dark, man. It's kind of annoying. And then actually Brad Pitt's like, yeah, except for the light in here. I was like, okay, cool. I'm down for that now.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, now you have brought me into the scene. I was like, cool. I got it. Nice.
So apparently this executive from New Line came down to visit the set because this was a closed set. They didn't do this in an actual apartment. And like, you know, they had like this all set up, like literally it stank like shit, dude. They actually had like spaghetti sauce that had gone off for weeks. And yeah, the smell they're reacting to is real. Apparently this was like somewhat of like a raised set. Like they had cockroaches actually like skittering away. And they had a cockroach wrangler on set because, you know, Peter. But also like, I don't know. But it's also kind of like, man, like this producer's just like, yep, I just came down here to check on this. I'll see you guys later. Yeah. Y'all are doing good.
He walks in and fucking Fincher is just plowing into Freeman with that knife dick. And he's like, all right, I'll see you guys later.
Well, she saw this guy, like they called him Big Bob, right? This is the victim here. Like, you know, just face down in the spaghetti, and like they've kind of like built him like this breathing apparatus, so it's kind of like a little scuba.
So it is a real dude. Okay, I thought it might have been like a.
You want to know who it is?
Who?
You want to know who it is? It's the writer Andrew Kevin Walker. That's the writer.
Okay.
In 10 hours of makeup, Andrew Kevin Walker.
Well, and because I was wondering, I was like, you know, it wouldn't shock me if David Fincher just found a morbidly obese guy, and you know, but I was like, man, it makes me think of Home Alone when they show a picture of Buzz's girlfriend. That's actually a boy in a wig because they felt bad doing that to a little girl. I was like, yeah, I guess I would feel like shit too if I go, hey, fat ass, get over here and eat this SpaghettiOs. It's like I'd feel like a piece of shit, you know?
I know,
dude. The fucking like veins and shit on the back of his arm. Oh, dude,
it's sickening, right?
It made me think of Bart. He's like, I wash myself with a rag on a stick. That's like all I could think of was Bart from The Simpsons.
But like, here's the thing: the reaction that we're having now, the fact that we're disgusted by the sight of this man, is the same reaction that John Doe has when he sees this guy. Right? Yeah. It's just like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
And look, I don't have anything against fat people. I'm fucking obese. I don't give a shit. Like, you know.
No, but there's not something where I'm like, God, that's disgusting. It just makes me nervous. Where I'm like, oh my God, dude, your health. Like, I get anxiety. Yes. I get such bad anxiety.
Well, it's kind of like that. Exactly what Mills says here, right? Like, he's just like, this has to be a coronary, right?
Yeah.
Like this. How can this not be?
Occam's razor.
Yeah, and dude, that shot. The first time you see Big Bob. From just the back, right? Mm-hmm. And just the size of the back, like it's vast, dude. It takes up the entire screen. Insane. Mills chalks it up to be a coronary, but Somerset looks closer and finds that the victim's arms and legs are bound with barbed wire. Mills talks about this case once, guy dead on the ground, knife in the back, gotta be a murder, right? Big insurance policy involved, but it turns out the guy stabbed himself multiple times. Somerset just straight up just tells him to shut up.
Yeah.
It's just
I like that about Somerset. Like, he's kind of a grouch. Like, he's kind of, and he even says, I mean, to that extent, like, anybody who spends enough time around me, they find me disagreeable. And I was like, yeah, I honestly, like, and I'm kind of a grouch. I kind of am a grouch too after a certain amount of time. And I'm like, God, fuck, go away. You know, and I'm like, I kind of get that way, but I could empathize with that. But at the same time, I was like, man, that is one thing is the characteristics between the two. At first, I didn't like it because they were so far apart. I was like, you have this like old, black, seasoned, you know, tired, apathetic cop versus this young, white, like hot. They couldn't be more polar opposites unless Brad Pitt was an albino. You know, it's like, it's insane just how fucking far apart they are. But then the moments when they actually, you see those parts of the magnets start coming closer together. And I was like, it made it actually a lot better because at first I did not like the pairing up was just so like, God, these guys are so at odds, like right off the bat. I was like, I kind of didn't love that, but it ended up setting this such a better place later. But by the end of it, when they are so close and he's like, David, put down that gun. It's like, you're so in it because you're like, dude, these guys are like friends now, you know?
No, totally. And like, I think what you said there really highlights the entire movie. It's the fact that one has experience and one doesn't, right? Like one has seen this world and one has not, and one underestimates it, and the other one it doesn't overestimate it but understands it. He's
Right.
just like, I get what this is all about, and the payoff is there. Just before they drive out to the desert, to the boonies, and that's the payoff of that moment is when Somerset says, "Hey, I just think this is the first time we've agreed on something." It's just like, fuck yeah. When we get that moment, it's just like, yes, we're here. They drive to the morgue. Actually, something really interesting. I'll just skip past. Somerset just pretty much tells Mills to go help the officers question the neighbors, right?
Ooh.
And Mills takes offense to this.
Yeah, I would too, dude. Be like, I'm a detective.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I'm a detective.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of made me mad.
The way he just shines the light in his face, dude. He's
Ooh,
just like, excuse
that
me?
actually might be my favorite shot in the movie is Morgan Freeman squatted on the ground. You see Freeman here, Pitt there, and then there's that guy. Oh, that looks so good, man.
Dude, this is, I am baffled how this did not get a cinematography nomination. It's just insane.
Yeah, for real.
We get this morgue scene, right? Mills mentions that he's already walked the beat. His badge says detective, same as Somerset. Don't jerk me off, he says. Dude, Reg E. Caffey as the...
I was wondering, dude, this guy looks so familiar.
Mortician. Yeah, this guy's been in a bunch of things. We talked about him. I can't remember what movie, but he passed away this year or late last year. He was in The Wire. He's got this voice about him, man. He is, God, I just hate that he passed away. He's been in a bunch of shit. House of Cards, unfortunately, the new Fantastic Four, The Wire. We talked about him on a movie. I know we covered a movie. He's in The Machinist with Christian Bale. American Psycho, he plays the homeless man. There we go.
Does he really? Holy shit.
Yeah. Se7en, Tank Girl, The Mask. I definitely remember him from The Mask. Born on the 4th of July.
God damn, dude.
This guy was the guy, man. He was a G. So as Big Bob is played out here, Fincher actually talks about how in return for putting Andrew Kevin Walker in 10 hours of makeup, they gave him a huge dick. It's just like, thank you for doing this. Here's your big shiny cock, sir. The coroner points out that the victim's interior wall was ripped open. He ate until he burst, died by eating. Somerset asks about the bruises against his head and surmises it might have been caused by a gun pressed up against his head. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a homicide. I just really want to point out again, Reggie Caffey's mortician, this guy, the coroner. I love the way that he responds to questions and stuff like that. He seems very seasoned. He seems like he's seen this kind of stuff before. And I really he's got that I've seen this stuff before, but yet I'm really amazed by this crime. I'm really intrigued by this, and that really just kind of plays into that whole kind of stereotype where coroners are really fascinated by very morbid things. I just really appreciated it.
I was laughing because it's I ordered hibachi as I'm watching this movie and sat down, ate sushi, ate dumplings.
I can't eat this.
Dude, I had the special lo mein that's beef, shrimp, and pork and chicken, and I was just sitting there eating. And I ate the sushi, and I had I split the dumplings with Lindsay, and I ate about half of the thing, and I'm just sitting here watching. It's amazing how this is just does not bother me at all. That kind of unless it's watching somebody's leg fold in half, after a bad UFC kick, I don't care. I really don't give a shit. Yeah. But I was whew, man, I could see how this could turn somebody's stomach into fucking sour milk.
That reminds me of, actually, and look, it wouldn't be a Midnight Double feature episode if we didn't reference The Office, but there's an episode of The Office where Pam is 8 months pregnant. She eats a boiled egg, right? And everyone just in the office starts throwing up, vomiting because of the smell and whatever. And Creed is in the background just eating noodles. He's just what's going on?
What's wrong with the boiled egg, dude? I eat those all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. They set it up. They set it up.
Okay.
But anyway, look, I'm not going into this. We don't have time for this.
I was wait a minute, what? What's wrong with the boiled egg? Somebody tell me what's wrong. I eat those at work all the time.
At the precinct, Somerset lays it out to their captain. Dude, played by R. Lee fucking Ermey.
He's so good. I was not
good.
I'm okay, cool. The guy from Frighteners, haha. And then when I saw him, I was Oh shit. Okay, you're not just a screaming guy with a hat on. I was like, oh my god, like you actually did a phenomenal job.
Right, exactly. Oh, it's funny that you know him from Frighteners because the first thing I think of is Full Metal Jacket, which you haven't seen, right?
Which I've never seen.
Yeah.
Or Saving Silverman. He's good in that.
I really like it. Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like he's one of the best parts about that remake, I think.
That's true. I forgot he's in that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people forget about that movie, but anyway. Somerset questions why someone would go to all that length just to torture someone. The act itself must have some meaning, right? Like this doesn't feel like your run of the mill kind of like murder. Just the amount of like detail that's gone into this, just the amount of effort that's gone into this. You know, otherwise you just walk into him and shoot him. And the captain's like, someone had a problem with the fat boy and decided to torture him, much like how he tortured Private Pyle, I guess. But you wouldn't get that reference, would you, Colin? So, fuck you. Ali Ermey apparently came into this originally reading for John Doe. Can you imagine that?
Detective! I could not imagine him being like, and I will and just him yelling in the back of the cop car like that. That I could see, but no,
I'll tell you what.
That's a little bit.
Weird. I love Fincher's justification for going with Spacey instead of Ali Ermey, because he talks about, like, you know, he's like, I love that this guy was a real life drill sergeant, but he made John Doe so unsympathetic. And look, John Doe is still unsympathetic, but it's hard to actually understand the logic behind John Doe's murders because he was so cut and dry and clinical in his delivery. Like, we can understand why John Doe would do what he did, right? Like, he hates humanity. He's disgusted. He's put off by it. But, like, he goes to say that, like, Ali Ermey's delivery was just so, you know, like, I am a bad guy. Like, you know, there's like, there's no like audience connection to it at all. Like, you know, they found 2 receipts. Killer stopped in the middle of everything, went to the supermarket and came back. No motive. And, you know, Ermey can see the writing on the wall and can see where this is going because he warned Somerset that he shouldn't start something with that big brain of his cooking on this. And again, this speaks to the amount of time that these two have worked together, right? The captain and Somerset.
Hell yeah.
Somerset asked to be reassigned because he knows that this is going to be a big case and he's so close to getting out, right? He says, this can't be my last duty. It's just going to go on and on and on. And look, that is something that I want to talk about very briefly. There's this trope of, like, you know, one of the cops wanting to retire, but like something big happens and they get pulled back in. Right, I mean, like, this is the Lethal Weapon thing with Murtaugh, right? Who
too dead to wait for retirement.
Right, exactly. But, like, you know, where Lethal Weapon and, like, other cop shows or, you know, TV shows and movies do it, it's kind of like, I'm doing this to protect my family. I'm doing this, you know, for my own safety, whatever. Whereas here, it's kind of like the city has worn me down. And, you know, like the crimes I've seen has worn me down. And I think, dude, that is just such a unique take on this whole, like, I am 5 days away from retirement thing. That I'm just like, yes, I'm all for this, you know?
Yeah, there's something that I really enjoy about that, of like a cop who's, I hate even calling him this, but like selfish. A cop who's like, I'm fucking done. Like, I am not that man. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I was like, cool. Like, that is so fucking relatable and believable. Like, I've seen, it makes me think of, he's like, why don't we come home and talk about how this junkie cooked his baby in a microwave? And I'm like, okay. God. Yeah, I could not imagine, like, you know, I actually watching this is like, man, I think I would absolutely love to be a detective because I that, like, that kind of shit. Just
people, you want to see babies in the microwave?
Yes, exactly. No, people at work were always like, you always get the weird accounts. You always get the weird ones. It's like, it's because I start asking questions and looking at stuff, and I end up every day being like, hey, what the fuck is this? And someone's like, just do it. And I'm like, no, I have to dig. I have to look at shit. And it's like, there's just something about that I really, really enjoy, of just following like the trail of stuff and trying to, it's like having a popcorn kernel stuck in your teeth. I've got to get it out of there, dude. Like, I've got to.
Well, it's going to bug you, right? I mean, like, it's just, it's kind of like one of those things where all I can do is just think about this, right? Like, I just need to resolve this immediately.
I got that way with Zodiac, and eventually had to be like, okay, this is happened 30 years before I was born. I gotta go. I gotta go.
Totally. The captain denies Somerset's request and instead puts Mills on something else, much to Mills' chagrin. And again, this like the little character flex that we get. Mills is really hungry for this, right? Like he's really wanting this case. Again, not understanding what this could possibly turn out to be, right? Like he's just like, "Yep, I've got this. Let's go." But he's again underestimating John Doe from the jump, right?
Well, yeah, and there's something interesting about the fact that Mills is just cocked, locked, and ready to rock, and then you've also got Somerset, who's like, I don't care about this case, I'm done, blah blah blah. And then Arlie Ermey's like, you'll not the first time you've left with unfinished business, but I love Somerset says those cases were worked to the extent of that we could have worked them, and it's like Somerset is not one of those guys who's like, all these years later, it's the cases I didn't solve that still haunt me. He doesn't really. I think he does feel that way at some point, but he can go to bed knowing at night he did his best to solve them. That's what I really like about it. It's like, and there's something really interesting that, everybody in the movie kind of has like a flaw. And I guess you could say if there was an eighth deadly sin, I feel like his might be apathy. And I think that can actually absolutely be a deadly sin, is just apathy about stuff. But it's interesting because I knew how this was going to end. I knew exactly what happened when I started watching it, how this was going to end. But I would love to see maybe an alternate ending or an alternate script or something where it's Somerset that he's trying to provoke into something, or I don't know. There's something about his apathy that I really love, because it's like behind every apathetic man is an optimistic child. And I love that. I really love like what led you, that bar scene, what led you from here to here. That's what I really, really wouldn't even mind seeing. I think you could take it either way and swap these protagonists out at the end for which one becomes the one to fall, Yeah,
that makes sense. Absolutely. Mills arrives at the crime scene in the hotel room. Let's call this just the Greed murder, right? This is the defense attorney. District attorney is downstairs fielding press questions, saying that he's come from a meeting of law enforcement officials who have assured him that their best men are looking into this. Of course,
do you know who this guy is?
Yeah, Richard Roundtree, the original Shaft.
He's motherfucking Shaft, dude.
you're not getting anything beyond me, dude, on this episode. I'm sorry, you're just not.
No, dude, he's awesome. Like I didn't recognize him right away, but it's like looking at his like TV show credentials, dude. It's like Beverly Hills 90210, MacGyver, 21 Jump Street, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Renegade, Touched by an Angel. Dude, there is so much shit he was in besides Shaft. I mean, obviously Shaft, but it's like I started looking through his television shit and was like, holy good Jesus, mother of God. That's a lot of stuff. LA Law, like there's a hell of a lot of stuff in here, man.
Yeah, totally. Like he is seasoned, dude. Yes. But like, again, that's another thing I love about this movie. Like just the amount of like little cameos and bit parts done by big actors. Like, it's good stuff. The captain notifies Somerset of the murder of Eli Gould and gets Somerset's attention when he murdered. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I fucking missed something, didn't I? Here we go. All right. Hold on. Mill's standing in the middle of the room, right? You see the word greed spelled out in blood. That might be one of my favorite shots. It's kind of like this really like up angle, like wide shot, and Mills is just kind of like in the middle. Oh, so good. And dude, here's what I love. I love that the nature of the 7 deadly sins are kind of like revealed to the audience on the second murder, not the first murder. Like, we kind of come back after this murder and figure out what they're doing is the 7 deadly sins thing, right?
Right, yeah. I I like that because it's like, again, my knowledge at the time, I mean, obviously I fucking know that, but at the same time, it's really cool that like, one thing I really like about this movie is the subtlety of stuff. Nothing is outright hammered over your fucking head. Like you kind of have to figure shit out.
You know me, dude. That's like my favorite fucking quality in a movie, dude.
Well, dude, what really got me is the greed scene. And I'm like, okay, so he wrote greed in blood. What happened? And I was like, I don't know. Like, there's no body here. There's nothing here. And not until I see the crime scene photos that I figure out the greed, and so I was like, okay, the guy's a lawyer, an attorney, blah, blah, blah. Did you read the newspapers? Like on the street corner with the guy, it's like raining. I always do. I have a like OCD of like, if I see a newspaper in a movie, I always pause it and read the newspaper because you always see shit.
Cinema Sins does that thing where they actually read it and they're like, this has been repeated here. This paragraph's been repeated here.
They do that a lot.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Didn't read this though. I read the headline, obviously, but
it's like goofy shit. One of them's like woman held hostage by her babysitter's gerbil for 3 days. Like it's stupid shit, but it's basically supposed to show like almost how ludicrous the city has gotten. Like it's gotten insane with like woman something, fought off a man-eating tiger or something. Like it's some crazy shit.
Well, this is kind of like looping back to Somerset's experience, right? Like and his viewpoint of the world, because it also ties into one of my favorite things about No Country for Old Men, and that's like Ed Tom Bell, like that's Tommy Lee Jones's character. How it's just like, we don't understand this level of violence anymore. Like, we don't understand. Like, this has escalated to an area that I don't understand anymore. It's not like the old days anymore, and I just, oh god, dude, I love that element of it, and like that's kind of like right here, right? Like when Somerset tells his story about this guy who got stabbed in both eyes, walking his dog, just happened 4 blocks away last night. He literally says he doesn't understand this place anymore. And like, again, that just the not being able to comprehend the savagery and escalation of violence, like really, really leaps out to me of just like, the world is changing. I'm not understanding this anymore. There's no decency,
Right. Well, it also speaks to Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight Returns, where he was like, these mutant kids, back in the day, someone stole a purse because they wanted money. It's like these people just want chaos. Like they just want that. I can't understand. There's no honor even among thieves anymore, kind of thing,
Yeah, totally. Coroner sent something down. Sorry. Coroner sent down something found from the fat guy's stomach. Bulbs of plastic fed to him. These we come to find the shavings from the floor when the fridge from his house is moved. Dude, they were fed to him? Fuck me. Jesus
That's
Christ.
what I'm saying. Like, were they fed to him so Somerset would get that and link it together? Or what did
Quite possibly.
Okay, because there's no other way how else would he make them go to the fridge? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, just the fact that it's behind the fridge, I mean, like, that is, this is gluttony, right? I mean, like, it's going to be behind the fridge, if anything, right? Somerset goes back to the original crime scene, and man, just the I've seen this movie 100 times. Just the amount of like mood and atmosphere in these shots is just stunning, dude. Like the way that you see the dust through the light, it's I don't know how the cinematographer did this, but it's so beautiful. And like, Fincher 100% knows the way, like how to shoot the fuck out of shit like this. Like, Social Network is not a dark movie. It's about dark themes and dark people. But the opening scene, like all of this kind of like reminds me of the opening scene of The Social Network, right? Like they're in this kind of like dark bar, literally just talking. And it's just like crowded, and like the lighting is just this dark kind of like brownish. And I'm just like, man, like you really know how to make the best out of your cinematography, don't you? It's crazy.
Yeah, they almost like there's a. I feel like a sister sibling movie to this would be Silence of the Lambs. It feels very
beautiful.
Silence of the Lambs. Like, but when you're in Buffalo Bob's place or Buffalo Bill, I always think of fucking the guy from Joe Dirt. No, whenever you see Buffalo Bill's like house, you're like, Jesus Christ, man! Like, what the fuck? And like everything feels real and like lived in and shit. Like, there's something about that I love. Like, it's almost like I was watching Bohemian Rhapsody again lately. I just threw it on the TV, and it's like, I hate this. Everybody's so because I've been working from home, so it's like, well, I want something with some music, a visual, like blah blah blah. I put it on, and I'm like, watching a little bit there, and I look, and I'm like, everybody's so clean, and it looks like an Old Navy ad, and like nobody's sweaty, nobody has an eye patch and like a bum leg, and it's like this movie just feels like everybody has syphilis. You're like, everything about this movie is like everybody has dirt under their nails. Like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, man. No, I 100% agree. But yeah, look, dude, he finds the gluttony note. Long is the way, and hard that out of hell leads up to light. Milton, Paradise Lost. And it's like, what the fuck?
Talking about my dick.
Yeah. Long is the way, bitch. I just love Pitt, right? All right, I'm confused. Or is that Ali Ami? I think it's Ali Ami. My bad. Whatever. Quick little bit of trivia here. So famously, in that chase scene that we get later when, like Doe is running across the street and Mills is chasing him. So Brad Pitt actually cut himself on the windshield of a car while running across.
I heard about that, yeah.
and that's why he's kind of like got the cast in some scenes. So they had to go back and reshoot this scene, or they shot it later. I don't know, but you'll notice that Brad Pitt has his left hand in his pocket the entire time. That's so he can hide the cast.
Oh, nice.
He's literally just trying to cover it up.
Oh, nowadays they'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna do it in post, and it's like
we're gonna CGI this out." Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna give you a metal Winter Soldier arm. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, fuck it. Hey, Brad, why do you have this alloy arm right now? I got it in Nam. Gluttony was written in Greece. Somerset notes that there are 7 deadly sins. This is just the beginning. And again, like, I love that it's like to Somerset, it's just like, this is all the more reason for me to get out now. Like, you know, get out. Like, this is just beginning, you know? Love the captain just picking up the phone. This is not even my desk.
I laughed out loud. This isn't even my desk. And he just hangs up. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. So good, dude. And like, just the fact that it's Ali Ermy doing it, like, you know, anyone else is just like, you couldn't do it.
The only other person I can imagine giving that delivery is Tommy Lee Jones. That's like the only person I thought would kill that role very well. I was like, he'd be good.
Yeah, for sure. Somerset gets into a cab and sees someone out in the footbath being attended to on the ground. And taxi driver's like, where are you heading? And man, if this is the line delivery here, can only be delivered by Morgan Freeman, because you can hear the weight in it. And he's just like, far away from here.
I was beautiful. Like, what the hell is going on the street, dude? Like, I want to know so bad. You know, it's like, what's happening?
There's a lot of this in this movie, right? Like, there's a lot of like insinuations. Because this is another thing, and we haven't really talked about this. There is very little on-screen violence in this movie. Like, for a movie that is so like revered to be a really hard-hitting, dark, and violent film, there is very little on-screen violence. We actually only see one act of on-screen violence, and, you know, besides that kind of like short action scene, it's actually the death of John Doe. That's the one that we see on screen. Like, and everything else is aftermath.
Yeah, well, and even if you don't see any violence, and the one thing of violence you see is just plop, 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 and like that's it. You're like, dude, thank God I didn't see old fucking Captain Hook dick. You know, it's like, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. But like, here's the thing, and this is something that I know that we both love, dude. It's the fucking cinema of the mind, right? Like, it's like, I'm going to give you the breadcrumbs and you piece it together, because it's probably going to be more fucked up in your head. And it 100% is. Like, you know? Mills get frustrated with the way that Dante writes, right? It's too much for him. I know we kind of went over the library scene a little bit. Like, you know, there's not too much to say about there. It's a bit of a montage. You know, the lighting in the scene is tremendous, right? Like, it seems super ambient. You know, dude, did you recognize one of the security guys? Security guards?
Is it the guy that turns the record on?
Yes, that guy.
He looked familiar.
The actor's name is Hawthorne James. He is the bus driver from Speed.
Oh, dude, I haven't seen Speed in like 15 years, dude.
Oh, really? Dude, that guy has just like a facial structure that I'll never forget. Like, he looks like, I don't know, he looks like a freak. And I'm sorry, Hawthorne James, but you look like a freak.
He is very distinctive looking, for sure.
For sure. Somerset picks out books like Chaucer's Canterbury Tales and Dante's Inferno. Meanwhile, Mills pores over crime scene photos looking for a connection. Somerset is, of course, doing this research to assist Mills, coming up with a list of books that may be helpful to him. And again, look, I think the approach that each police officer or detective takes is really interesting, right? Like, I mean, Somerset really gets down into the nitty-gritty theoretical elements of it, whereas Mills is just looking for a hard and fast connection, possibly a shortcut to resolving this.
Oh, like, yeah. You know? Yeah, like, well, one thing with age usually comes patience, and it's like, where does Somerset go? He hits the fucking books, you know, and it's like, where does Mills go? I'm gonna sit in my living room, drink a beer, and try to figure this out. And it's like, dude, you gotta put yourself. I mean, look, Somerset like leaves work, goes to the library, comes back, and it's like, dude, the guy's mopping the floor, and there he is. It's like, ooh, damn, that is such a good showing of time of how long he's been doing this all fucking day.
Right. Apparently, that janitor is someone famous. George Christie.
I was gonna say John C. not John C. McGinley. Fuck. I forgot his name.
No. So his name is George Christie. He's a columnist for the. He wrote for the Hollywood Reporter. So apparently, like, he's like a big. I think he was a critic. And apparently on set, David Fincher didn't know who he was, and he just kind of like treated him like shit. And like all the cast members and crew were just like, "Dude, that's George Christie. What the fuck are you doing?" And he's just like, "I don't know who the fuck that is."
Like a critic, like a columnist.
Yeah, he's like a critic.
Oh, okay. That's probably Fincher was tree. I know who he is. I don't give a fuck.
Right, exactly. Wednesday, Mills gets frustrated with the way Dante writes. Like I said, it's too much for him, too complicated. Again, like what you said, the more like the less experienced cop is a bit more impatient, right? He literally orders the Cliff Notes version of Canterbury Tales, right?
Yeah.
Hilarious, man. Like just taking the shortcut because, he wants the case, but he's not up to the task of doing it by himself without Somerset's guidance, which is really interesting. In the office, Mills takes a call from Tracy, who wants to invite Somerset to dinner. This is, of course, after we get a shot in the montage earlier when Tracy's just kind of like watching Mills, like watching the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that, by the way?
On her inviting him to dinner, or
on Tracy's kind of like insistence on Somerset being invited to dinner. Like, is this like setting up like their conversation later about the pregnancy? Like, is it kind of like I don't have, Mills doesn't really have anyone here, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that. Really, when it comes down to it, because these men are, even for the small amount of time they're together, are partners. And they're, feel responsible for each other. If my wife were a detective and, I would be like, hey, who's your partner? Like, I want to know who is watching her back, like, and, while all this shit is going on, that kind of thing I would just like to know. But I think also a thing of, she is almost kind of the only beacon of like any levity in this whole movie. She's the only hope, like, right? Yes, any olive branch, any peace, any hope, any laughter. Like, dude, there's like the one scene, and it is kind of nice because the one scene where people are actually laughing and it feels good. Like at that park, it's like, dude, you're in the middle of all this like horrible shit, and it's like but I think that. It's really showing you that by bringing her in, that like what you said, the pregnancy setup for sure, but then also at the same time, showing just this one sparse of a moment of any kind of hope or laughter or joy, and it's really like these moments are so few and far between and fleeting in this place. And it's like, this is what this day-to-day life is like. And it's like, holy shit. Even before John Doe shows up, there's still, people just murdering each other left and right and all this crazy shit going on. I did laugh though, where he's like, okay, well, yeah, sounds good. See you later. And hangs up. And Mills is like, well, yeah. And he's like, oh, I've been invited to a late side. Like, dude, you're not going to tell him? Like, that's so weird.
Dude, he's just like, what was that?
I'm gonna go to your house and have sex with your wife.
Just the fact that he calls it late supper is the most Morgan Freeman thing I've ever heard in my life. Like,
what do you collect stamps? What are you, 65 years old?
He eats dinner at 3 p.m., dude. Like, come on.
Yeah. She's like, we're having dinner at 6. I don't know why he said a late supper. It's weird.
But yeah, look, let's get into this whole dinner scene, right? Somerset meets Tracy. William, I'd like you to meet David. William, this is David. She's charming, dude. I think she's really charming. Dude, and Mills just tackling his dogs as he comes home. Like, this is fantastic to see, because it's kind of like, I have things that I look forward to when I come home. Like, whereas Somerset is just like, Somerset goes home to his metronome, right? Like, whereas Mills is just like, I have things to live for still. Yes, knife darts.
Did you catch the thing that Somerset picks up on the mantle? Now, I don't think it's a Purple Heart, but he picks up something that looks like a medal.
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
He definitely picked something up that looks like it's right
like
at
he's decorated, right?
Yeah, like 34-minute, 50-second mark. He picked something up, and it looks like some kind of, I don't want to say it's a purple, I don't want to speak out of turn, but it definitely looks like some kind of war medal.
Well, Mills was in a shooting, right? I mean, like, he was involved in a shooting, but I don't know if you get awarded for that, like that.
I don't know. I have no idea. Probably. I mean, yeah, I have no idea.
Somerset says that he's still got some faith in this world, right? Something to live for, like I said, with the dogs. Tracy asked Somerset why he's not married. He was close once, but it just didn't happen. Anyone who spends time with him finds him disagreeable, like you said, Colin. He's lived here for, quote, too long. And then we get the subway, right? Shows us the place a few times. Tracy likes it. Then I start wondering, why would he only start bringing us here only 5 minutes at a time? Um, this is interesting because, you know, if you want to take the really kind of like weighty approach, they're literally like sitting around having dinner, having a great time, and then the city, right? The shitty city just starts encroaching in on their experience, like with the subway, and I'm just like, yes, like it's subtle, but it's also like, hey, don't get too happy, right? Because this place is not what you think it is. It's good stuff.
I like that. It's humorous, but at the same time, again, it's that claustrophobia.
Yeah. Literally, like it's like the city just putting its arms around your neck and just choking you out, right? Dude, the soothing, relaxing, vibrating home, and man, Freeman's hysterical laugh here, it's so good. I've never seen Morgan Freeman laugh like this.
No.
Like his eyebrows just form like a crazy arch shape. It's beautiful.
His full teeth, like laughing.
Yeah.
Like there was something to me that made me, it's like, this is something, the laughter of like a cynical man. Like this is laughter of like laughing at somebody. You're not laughing with somebody. You're laughing at somebody. And I was like, that's, I mean, you can laugh at people and still, you know, not be ugly about it. But there was something about that just made me laugh my ass off. But there's all like, at first, it's like, is she trying to fuck Morgan Freeman? Like, is old Miss Coldplay trying to fuck Morgan Freeman? But because there's something she's, what cracks me up is she's like,
schlong.
whenever they're sitting there and she's like, you know, they're talking and blah blah, and he just goes, she's like, "Were you ever married, William?" And just a look on her face, it's just kind of like, like,
please say no,
you know what I mean?
Please say no. Well, I mean, like, you know, if Morgan Freeman sticks it in, he's gonna be sticking it in next to a vagina crystal. So
yeah, right. It appears you have me ensnaggled in some form of trap.
Oh boy, that's a goop. Let's get into this. So apparently Gould was bound, right? Handed a butcher's knife and a scale with a pound of flesh. 1 pound of flesh, no more, no less. No cartilage, no bone, but only flesh. From the Merchant of Venice. Dude, I love Mills. He's like, I didn't see it. Like, you know, he's so simple. He's so unsophisticated, right? But again, man, like this whole like pound of flesh shit, this just horrifies me. They used this in Saw, one of the Saw sequels as well. I can't remember which one it was, but they had to like cut off like a pound of flesh. And like they actually cut it off from the love handle as well. Like it's just like, I mean, that's probably, I think if I had to make a cut, that's probably where I'd think of, right? Or my thigh, right?
Yeah, cut off like an ass cheek or something.
Yeah. Oh, guys, welcome back to Midnight Double Feature.
Now you take this knife, you pudgy bastard, and you cut off your left butt cheek. Put it on that scale.
Gun in your face. Which part of your body is most expendable? Mills says love handle and shows the photo of Gould. Again, like, movie's not violent, but we see violent imagery, right? This movie's got an R rating here. Our rating system works very differently to yours, though, because we also have MA between M15 plus and R. Most of the R movies in America are MA 15 plus. So it's interesting that a movie that has so little on-screen violence is rated R. I just think Fincher really captured that kind of, like, you know, tone through cinematography and atmosphere and all that blah blah blah. Somerset surmises that he's preaching, right? Sins were used as teaching tools, quote, like in Parsons' Tale, Dante, says Mills, and Somerset is surprised. Sermons were about atonement for sins. These murders are about forced attrition. First thing they teach women in rape prevention is never cry for help, always yell fire. Nobody answers for help. You yell fire, they come running. And man, is this not just like a microcosm for society, right? Like, it's just...
Say something that will benefit you and me, not just me. And it's like, that is so... God, I just love if someone's like, help, and they don't come, and they're like, fire, and they show up and they shoot them. Like, you're a fucking dick. Just shoot them in the leg.
Help, and then you just shout back, what's in it for me? Like, you know, it's just like...
Are you hot? Like,
what a perfect way, dude, to encapsulate the point of this movie, right? Like, just that one analogy with the fire, it's perfect, man. Like, and you know what? The very fact that this movie is celebrating its 25th anniversary literally 2 days ago, and this quote could not be more applicable to today. Like, you know, like what's in it for me? Like, you know, just like we still live in this society. Like, you know, we're still, if anything, it's gotten worse, right? Oh,
50-50.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just think it's interesting because I wrote a note a bit later on. I would want to see what John Doe thinks of the world we currently live in with social media, like Twitter, like, you know, like the whole kind of like the toxic nature of online, the online sphere. And I'm just like, man, John Doe would have the hardest time reacting to the world we live in now.
Yeah, I could see that because I'm split 50-50. Like, you know, after 90, you know, it's still, you don't ever want to go like, well, it can't get any worse than that, because it definitely will. It's at some point somebody will come along and just blow your mind. But there's also, you know, I kind of go 50-50 on that. I'm like, well, still, especially the shit going on right now, there's a lot of like active change. Like, no, this is fucked up, and I don't benefit from anything by pointing out that this is fucked up. I'm like, but there's also people that don't give a shit. You know, there's always, you know, it's not one way or the other. It's always both sides kind of spinning, you know?
Right. There's this really quick moment here. And like, again, I picked this up on this viewing of this movie as the train goes past and, you know, Somerset picks up his glass of wine. Dude, a glass of wine, full glass. And just Somerset looks at it like, what the fuck? This guy gave me a glass of wine.
I noticed. Dude. Well, dude, no. I know when he poured that glass out, I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Yeah. And I was like, are you trying to fuck this dude? I was like, why?
Yeah, man, it speaks to just how unsophisticated he is, right? Like, and he's so, you know, simple. Like, he's just not a clever dude. Like, you know, he's not like.
All the newspaper just thrown down, and he starts rolling around on the newspaper. I was like, dude.
Yeah. But, like, it's interesting because when they're having dinner before that, like, they have their wine in actual wine glasses because Gwyneth Paltrow's character poured that out. Like, you know? Like, it's just, it's Mills who's just, you know, who sees things through a very simplistic lens. And I love that, you know? Just this really small character details like that. And then they look at this image of Gould's wife, right? Like that photo frame. She's supposed to see something but hasn't had the chance. And Mills and Somerset go to see Mrs. Gould, show her the crime scene pics, ask her if there's anything strange or out of place. And she's, of course, hysterical. Somerset asks Mills to dumble down, right? Like, that's interesting, right? Like, it's going to be now, push her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, that's an awesome piece of direction from Somerset. Because Somerset, this is a guy who, in the first scene, was very interested in wondering whether the child saw a crime play out. So he's very sympathetic to victims. But here, it's kind of like, I don't care about this. Like, it's not really like, I don't care about this victim. Like, it's like, I know she's been victimized, but we need to get to this information, right?
At the end of this conversation, whether you give us information or not, you will still be a widow. And it's like, I hate to put it that way, but like, you might as well be a widow who is proactive versus just sitting there like, fuck, you know? And it's like, all you have to do is take a look at this. We're not asking you to go out there and hunt the guy. Just take a look at this so we can be on our way.
Totally. But like, this also kind of like plays into this thing that I thought about this time around. It starts to talk about a little bit how much they're kind of they're willing to bend the rules or their values as police officers, as detectives, to try and get to John Doe. Like, you know, just the very fact that it's like, this person has lost their husband, she's hysterical, but we need to push. And like, you know, this is obviously like highlighted a bit later on when Somerset uses his FBI contact to illegally, like, you know, like all of that stuff is kind of like, how much are you willing to forego as a police officer in order to catch this guy? Like, you know, like I really like that conversation this movie has as well.
Right. Yeah. Cause this is a little bit more like, it's not maybe unethical, not immoral, not illegal, but a little unethical, you know, just to be like, all right, bitch, shut up, stop crying, tell me this shit. I fucking Morgan Freeman just starts. If you don't tell me, look at this painting, I'll put a cigarette out in both your eyes. I'll treat you like Boggs Diamond did Andy Dufresne and beat him behind a stack of pallets.
You'll never see shit again. Somerset finds fingerprints on the walls. Dude, this reveal that the help me in fingerprints, man. Oh,
it felt like The Exorcist when they see the help me on her stomach and written, you know, the hidden message. I was like, oh shit! It's like well, and plus the print. I was like, I know those aren't his prints, so who the fuck is that? You know, it's like the first thing I was like, fuck. This is the same thing with Breaking Bad while we're doing Bad Crystals. I know how shit ends, but I'm like, well, how the fuck does it get there though? Like, God damn it.
Right.
You know, it's like, how the fuck does this it's like Breaking Bad and Seven were like Memento for me. And I was like, well, what the fuck happens though? What brought me to this?
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Like you said, the prince don't belong to the victim. And while they wait to get a hit on the prince, Mills talks about his philosophy on psychopaths, right? He can't comprehend what the killer is. He says, literally, quote, freaks out there doing all the evil deeds they don't want to do. The dog made me do it. Right. And like, this is the character of Mills. Like, he's constantly categorizing people like John Doe as freaks, as, you know, psychopaths.
Well, that was Son of Sam, who was like, my dog told me to, like, you know, or like I shot the president because of Jodie Foster, or, you know, with Hinckley and shit. And it's like, trying to rationalize stuff.
Yeah. But it's also underestimating them. Like, it's also kind of like, you know, like this is, and like Somerset has an issue with this, right? Like, we'll get into the conversation later at the bar, where it's like, you can't just keep like saying that they're freaks or you know, or psychopaths. Like, there's so much more to them than that one word label that you are not seeing. And like, you as an inexperienced police officer, you need to start to see this. Like, you know, you can't label them as this. And only an experienced cop like Somerset can impart that information.
Well, it also ends up being like, there are incredibly intelligent, wealthy, resourceful people that believe in crazy shit. And it's like, you don't have to be a crazy person to believe in crazy shit. Like, your logic might just be a little bit flawed, and then you believe, you know, you're the whatever, you know. But it's like, it's like, I don't know. For me, it's I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it's like, you see people who are, you know, like doctors and scientists and surgeons that are like, the earth is flat. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like, how do you think that? Like, it's kind of like that. Like, it's just interesting seeing how intelligent, resourceful people can believe in just crazy nonsense.
Right. Exactly. But I do like the way this movie kind of like portrays actual menial work of being detectives, right? Like them waiting outside the print lab, just like falling asleep on the couch. And like, here Somerset confesses that he wishes he still thought like Mills, right? It's that mentality of like, man, I wish I had your hope. Like, you know,
your
like
spunk.
I've seen too much. Specifically, he brings up the moment Mills reassured Mrs. Gould that they'll catch her husband's killer, which is great. Again, like, you know, like Somerset doesn't believe that, but Mills does. It's interesting. Somerset talks about what they're doing here, gathering evidence on the off chance that they'll be used in court, and Mills says bullshit. And like, think about the rest of the movie, right? Like, when Mills can arrest John Doe, have him go through the court system, but instead Mills gives in and says bullshit and just like lays down his own justice, you know? It's kind of like seeding that already. Even the most promising clues usually lead to others. So it's kind of like, this is Fincher and Andrew Kevin Walker letting you know, hey, here's a big clue as to what's going to happen in the end. Do you think he's going to take this guy in and have him go through the justice process? Or do you think he's going to lay down his own justice?
Well, yeah, and there's something also interesting about Somerset being like, you know, the fact that we are following clues that might be used later on. He's like, honestly, at the end of the day, it's not so much that, like, I don't think Somerset's like, we got to nail this guy. Somerset's just like, I just want to figure out the puzzle kind of thing. You know, like, I know he would definitely, you know, if it came down to it, probably shoot John Doe in a fucking heartbeat. But there's something where it's like, he's not so gun ho about it, where it's like, not that he doesn't care, but it's like, I think Somerset is probably one of the most interesting characters in the movie because he's so caught in between both those worlds of like, are you apathetic? Or is it like you do care, but you just don't allow yourself to do it so much? Like, there's a lot of interesting.
He's definitely conflicted, right? Like, he wants to be like, everything he's seen makes him apathetic, but he wants to be caring. Like, you know, like he really wants to be able to care, and it's just it's good stuff. The guys wake up on the couch on Thursday morning to the captain telling them they've got a match on the prince. Briefing the team, this guy goes by the name of Victor, dabbled in drugs, assault, attempted rape of a minor, and they're heading to his residence. Our killer seems to have more purpose, says Somerset, right? Like, he's not he's not sure about this, right? And again, I love the swelling music as they load up into the
Hell
swamp
yeah.
vans. Oh, this is when the movie kind of like comes alive, because like we haven't heard, we've had Howard Shore's score like throughout this movie, like very subtly, and this is when it really kicks into gear. On the way, they talk about catching a bullet. Somerset's pulled out his gun 3 times, and Mills has actually shot his gun before. Interesting. It's interesting that Mills actually forgets the cop's name, right? And like he can't remember the little details, and he's actually like so fixated on it, right? Like he says, "Christ, what was his fucking name?" And it's just like he's unable to remember the details.
There's nothing that surprises me about the fact that Somerset's like, yeah, I never shot anything. Mills is like, hell yeah, I definitely have. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Totally. Man, let's get into this slot scene, right? Dude, love me some John C. McGinley.
Oh, hell yeah.
These SWAT guys, man, they're so macho, like to the point of like Somerset even commenting on it, like when they use the battering ram, they love this, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just, he knows these guys. And like, it's like these guys just remind me of the team from Predator. Like, you could like take out the guys from Predator and put them in this scene.
Well, they definitely like fuck that door pussy with the ram dick. They just like, just like blast it in. I was like, come on, dude.
Totally. Set decoration here, dude, like you already said, is absolutely incredible with the air fresheners. Like I can, a movie rarely puts me in a place of like, I can smell this. Like, like I can probably smell what's going on here. Like I feel like, the overused air freshener with just a hint of body odor just covering it up. I feel like I could smell that, Oh,
I worked in a meat department for a long time, having to dump 50-gallon trash cans every day into a dumpster. And in July or August, when you open it up to dump more in there and you smell rotting meat and flesh and pork products and stuff like that, then trying to cover that up, someone just like spraying that with Febreze, it's like, dude, it makes you want to like choke to death, because there's just something so musky and dirty about this whole scene. Like I wanted to ask you, like, so the guy, like he says, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, the doctor's like, yeah, he's pumped full of drugs. So is this guy just constantly drugged and fed through like a tube and shit? Like, I don't know how he's still alive,
Yeah. So I want to believe that, he is constantly drugged. He's basically immobilized, and John Doe just keeps on coming back regularly to feed him, or like, offer him just like, small amounts of food just to keep him on the brink of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just on the edge of it. And like he's constantly paying his rent, so like nothing seems suspicious. So I think like he keeps him pretty much teetering on the brink of death and, life.
Well, he even said he chewed off his own tongue. And it's like, why would you, unless you were just on the brink of starvation? Like, why would you? Yeah, I kind of wish, just because I'm kind of sick, I'm like, what all did he do to this guy? Like, come on, I want to know. Like, I don't really care.
You want to see more of those photos, those Polaroids?
Yeah, I just want to see, it's like a guy who was attempted rape of a minor. Like, so did you smash both his testicles in one blow, or did you do one testicle at a time? Totally. And it's like, I'm cool with that. Like, how'd you do that?
Well, that's the interesting part about this, right? Like, I mean, you want to somewhat feel sympathetic for the guy, but then you're just like, oh, hold on.
Yeah, like, and don't get me wrong, I mean, attempted rape of a minor, it's like, Jesus Christ, the only thing you could do worse is fucking try and eat her afterwards. But it's like, but the thing is, like, even then, the way that he looks and the horrible pain, it's like you forget kind of everything he did. When he pops up in that moment, you're like, oh my God, that poor guy. Like, you kind of think that for a second, and you're like, hey, whoa. And I'm like, hey,
you
check
kind of
check
like
yourself,
draw
bitch.
yourself.
Check yourself, bitch.
Well, but like, here's another thing. We're taking Somerset's kind of like stance on this, right? Like we're adults, right? Like we've heard stories about children, unfortunately, being taken advantage of, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, the first time we see him, we're supposed to feel sympathetic, but like what we know about the world and like what horrors that this guy's probably caused on unsuspecting minors, like it's just immediately like the world has kind of like painted our view of like how we should feel about this guy, and it's just so unique to this kind of movie, I think. Like,
well, yeah, they right off the bat, they're like, look at this, yeah, we're going to hit this guy. He's he's this and he's that and he's a rapist and blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as you show up and you see him, you forget when one look at him, you're like, holy hell, this guy looks like the witch in Sleepy Hollow.
He looks like a Draugr from Skyrim, dude. Like, they're just kind of like those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I will never forget watching this when I was like 13, 14, 15. Bravo's top scariest movie moments. And I'd always watch it around Halloween. And this was in pretty high up there because, like, for something that's not technically a horror movie, this was absolutely, like, the thing that really terrifies me is not the initial, because I knew it was coming, but once he starts like and I was like, oh my fucking god, dude. Like, looking at his face, I was like, I have seen the edge of the world, and it is whatever this guy has gone through. And I was like, there is no God. I started just punting babies and puppies and shit, and just peeing. I would pee when I farted and farted when I puked and shit. It's like, oh my god, it felt so
it's insanity.
Dude, yes, it felt literally, I was just like, my brain just could not comprehend that. I was like, I just felt like I felt on the brink of insanity when I saw it. I was like, this is just, this movie is kind of my version of hell, of just like dirty, disgusting, violating, like
Dante's
gross.
Inferno.
Yes, just like somebody taking a shit on a bologna sandwich, leaving it out for 2 weeks and making you eat it kind of stuff. And I was like, oh God, there's just something about that disgusting kind of like, oh geez, a violation of you in like every morally, physically, spiritually, everything is like a horrible violation in this movie. Yes, totally. Like Jesus Christ.
I can't remember the first time I saw this. It's like Seven is a movie like Star Wars for some reason. I can't remember the first time I saw it. Like, I feel like it's always been in my life.
I can't wait to see how he connects these motherfuckers.
no. I feel like it's always been in my life, which means that I was way too young to have seen this movie, like the first time through. Like, I think it was kind of like one of those, I've heard about this movie. It feels like legend to me, so I have to watch it. And I remember watching it, and I remember being blown away by it. But I love watching this particular scene with people. Like, you know, like I showed my best friend Damien this scene. Like, we were watching the movie for the first time. He'd never seen it before. And I was like, dude, you got to watch this. And we sat down and watched it. And I turned to him, like, like side-eyed him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get ready for this. Get ready for this. And like, man, the guy breathes. And he's just like, holy fucking shit. Like, like, dude, that's insane.
You know what, honestly, thinking about, because I wasn't really listening to anything that you said. No, I'm just kidding. What I really think was just in terms of like, you feel violated after this movie, and like, yeah, you can feel almost like, you're like physically, there are literally people who are raped in this movie, and physically and spiritually and emotionally. But like, the worst thing is it's an absolute violation and destruction and obliteration of your hope, of any kind of hope. And it's like, dude, one of my favorite quotes is from Harvey Milk. And he was like, I know hope is not enough, but without hope, you cannot live. He's like, or something like that. He's like, I know hope, you can't just live on it, but without hope, there's basically nothing. And this whole movie, you just walk away with like, fuck, I'm going to go sit in the bathtub with a blender and fuck it, dude. Like, you have that awful,
until
like,
the final line. Like that, the final line.
Yeah, you need to end
Hemingway.
on that, like, boop, boop. Yeah.
When he quotes Hemingway. Yeah.
I guess, it's one of those things where it's just so full of despair that it's hard to bounce back from that.
No, absolutely, dude. But look, this is Sloth, played by Michael Reed McKay. He was cast after meeting the role's two main demands, right? So the two demands were having a very small frame and being able to lay down for long periods of time. McKay was only 98 pounds, and he underwent 14 hours of prosthetic application to get what the production team was after.
Good God almighty, dude.
Insane.
Wait, it took them more time to do him than oh my God. Get out of here. It's crazy.
The photos, dude, like, right, first one dated 1 year ago today, showing the deteriorating nature of his body. That is horrifying. Like, just the fact that he took a photo every day.
They look like, as you're flipping through them, it looks like people in a concentration camp. You're like, totally, what the fuck, dude?
Look, this is, I'm going to play this, right? Like, I just need to, because the score here is just absolutely incredible. The way that Fincher is able to utilize tension, right? Like Fincher's, the way he's able to build tension, dude. Like, through music, through atmosphere, through dialogue. It's absolutely outstanding. So I'm just going to play this real quick. This is the Sloth scene. And here we go.
Morning, sweetheart. Get up now, motherfucker. Now!
Get up, you sack of shit. Oh, fuck me.
Dex! You wanna come take a look at this? Dex!
Jesus. Victor?
What the hell? That's just Victor.
Call an ambulance.
The fuck is this? Versus be more like it.
Also forensics.
What's going on here, California gets people out of here. Go on now, go. No one touches anything. It's some kind of friggin' wax sculpture or something.
Sloth.
Man. God damn.
These pictures were dated 3 days ago. This must be the first one. Look. It's dated exactly 1 year ago today.
I got a hair sample, I got a stool sample, I got piss, I got fingernails. He's laughing at us. You got what you deserved. He's alive! He's alive! The cocksucker's alive! Stop it! Hands down! Emergency on that ambulance!
I have heard, and I don't know if this might be totally bullshit, that they didn't tell the SWAT team exactly what was going to happen. They're like, "Oh, it's a dummy."
I've heard that too.
Okay.
I did not confirm that, but I've heard about it.
Okay.
Man, can you imagine? Can you imagine being John C. McGinley and just that
I think
reaction, dude?
I am if you jump out and scare me, I am a swinger. I am just like a plop, like punch, and I'm like, dude, don't do that shit. I'll kill
I can
this
see
guy.
John C. McGinley being that kind of person too. Can you imagine if he like pulled the trigger, like it's just he just goes click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Oh god. Somerset in the stairwell tries to calm Mills down, saying that it's important for them to divorce themselves from their emotions. And dude, Mills just says, "Man, I feed off my emotions." Right? Like, I mean, this is setting us up.
Yeah,
Setting us up.
Like watching it once I knew who's coming up here in a second and hearing him say that out loud, I was like, oh, you done played yourself. You done fucked yourself up.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, like case in point, right? Like the way he treats John Doe right here in the stairwell, like he's already wrath, right? Like he's already wrath. He's turning into this person. It's kind of crazy, dude, that Kevin Spacey had won an Oscar the year prior for Usual Suspects, and nobody knew because he was uncredited in this movie. Like, he was not in the posters, he was not in the marketing, he wasn't even in the opening kind of like credit main sort of title sequence. But like, obviously now we can tell that this is Kevin Spacey because he's got such a distinctive voice. But back then, audiences had no idea, and it's fantastic. So it turns out Victor can't speak. He chewed off his own tongue. He's going to die of shock right now if you were to shine a flashlight in his eyes. He's experienced, quote, as much hell as any human being can endure, and he still has hell to look forward to. Oh, boy.
Oh, that's not a judgment call.
That's not a judgment call. Yeah, I know. Hey, you believe in hell, heaven, and hell?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, man. Look, that's about halfway. What do you reckon we take a break right here?
Yeah, I'm going to go smash some more lo mein, so yeah, I'm ready.
I am gonna go try and find the world for a rainbow or something, or a nice fucking cute kitten or a puppy or some shit. Because man, I'm looking at the straight razor right here and my wrist, and it's looking very, very, tempting. Guys, we'll be right back with more Seven. Do not go anywhere.
Hey guys, what's going on? Colin jumping in here in the middle. Just kind of let you know some stuff that's going on at Midnight Double Feature. First off, please stop by and rate and review us on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. It helps out so much. It takes 5 seconds and it's free. So there you go. We would really appreciate it. Also, you can find us on our socials. We're on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Twitter at MDF Pod. Please also join the group that we have attached to our Facebook page. It's called the After Party. Everybody's invited. That group has been really expanding and we're really excited to see where it's going. We can also find our website, midnightdoublefeature.com. We got our merch there. If you want to know something, you want to find us on our socials, you want to see what all's going on, that's kind of like our main hub. That's really where to find it if you want it. We also have a podcast for Breaking Bad that we have going on. It's called Bad Crystal. It's an interesting show where I actually haven't seen any of the episodes of Breaking Bad. Zoheb has seen it like 15 times, and he's kind of leading me through it. I'm experiencing it for the first time with a veteran, and it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a lot of fun. And lastly, if you really want to support the show and really put all your cards on the table, we do have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/midnightdoublefeature. It's $5 a month. There's only one tier. You get all access to everything that we've got going on. We've got bonus episodes. We've got off the rails kind of stuff. We've got a lot of stuff that's not going to make it to the main page, and there's a lot more geared for Patreon kind of stuff. So we really hope to see you guys over there. Like I said, plans start at $5 a month and end at $5 a month. That's the only one that we've got going on. We really hope that you guys can join up there, and we will hope to see you soon. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are freshly squeezed, as we like to say. We're ready to dive right back into Seven. We've just come back from hugging babies and, picking flowers and spending time in bright meadows because we are back into the thick of David Fincher's atmosphere. Colin, you wanted to shout something out real quick.
Oh, yeah. What's in the back? No, I'm just kidding. A very good friend of ours, Carlos from Haiti, remember, he has actually started a website with his brother, brotherbearapparel.com, or it should be brobearapparel.com. They have a lot of really cool stuff on there, a lot of different t-shirts, hoodies. They have a lot of different things on there. I personally bought a hoodie on there today that I absolutely fucking love. I thought it was really cool. He has a lot of really cool merchandise out there now. Spider-Man stuff, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a lot of really cool shit. So I just wanted to shout him out because I know he just started doing that, and I personally bought some. You will never hear ads on the show, probably, most likely, except for its Patreon. And that's not even an ad. That's just a shout out. So fuck it. I honestly wanted to come on and be like, this show is sponsored by Brother Bear Apparel, and
honestly,
just listen to him be like, what the hell?
It might as well be, considering that we would not exist without Carlos, right? So.
Yeah, and he's on Patreon, so it's like, yeah, basically, in a roundabout way, I'll take it. But again, that is brobearapparel.com. Check him out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love Carlos. We love everything he does. Chris, Donna, everyone.
Okay, come on. No, I'm just kidding.
We're just kidding. We're all in. You know what, man? Their episodes are so uniquely re-listenable. I'm wondering if we have that quality, because I don't know if we do, but it's also I love it. Let's get back into Seven. Just really quickly before we do kick off this diner scene with Tracy and Somerset, I wanted to point out just in particular how much Seven inspires a lot of movies and TV shows these days. Like, you talked about the Batman very briefly being inspired by Seven. One of my favorite things ever is the first season of True Detective. Man, like that was Nick Pizzolatto was the creator of that series. And he, talks about how heavily influenced he was by Seven. And you can tell, dude, like the show even takes that whole dour approach to the world is so fucking shit. Like, there's no coming back from this, blah, blah, blah. There's little rays of hope So like Woody Harrelson's character in that show has a family, like he's got things to live for, whereas like Matthew McConaughey's character Rust Cole is just I am dead inside and the world is making me worse. And like the villain in that is as methodical and intricate and meticulous as John Doe. And I really wanted to point out that because of Se7en, we got the first season of True Detective, which I think is one of the best seasons of TV ever. Like, if you haven't seen it,
I haven't. That'd be fun to podcast about. Let's do a Bad Crystal, but True Detective. And put it on Patreon.
I'm pretty sure it's only like 8 episodes too, so it'll be fucking,
nice.
Done. Like, teaser. All right, let's get into this. Tracy and Somerset meet. He's the only person that she can rely on because she's the only person that she knows. She's been going around looking at schools, but the conditions here are horrible, and she says that she's pregnant, right? Dude, the look on Somerset's face as she reveals that she's pregnant, it's literally like
it's not happy.
No. It's like, oh God, why would you do this? Like, literally. And that is sad to me. Like,
it's like surprised anxiety. He's like, oh, like,
yeah, man. Like it really paints just the amount of anguish that this character's been through. Like, it's just your first instinct is not to say congratulations or I'm happy for you. It's why would you do this? Like, why would you bring a baby into this world? Oh,
when I met Tracy at the diner, she told me she was pregnant. Right. And I told her you have to crawl through 500 yards of shit to come out clean on the other side.
I never did see Andy Dufresne that day.
She told me the baby was mine, and I called her a whore.
something about the sisters. But yeah, so look, he talks about his relationship. Basically, he forced this woman to get an abortion because he didn't want to bring another person into this world, right? Dude.
This is heavy. That is fucking heavy.
You know what? Freeman carries this like a beast. He is incredible in this sequence.
And I'd make her do it again if I had the choice.
Right, that's what he says, right? I mean, like, he says, I'm positive I made the right decision, but there's not a day that passes that I don't wish I made the different choice, right? Like,
yeah, I like it because it's basically him admitting that even though I know I'm right, that I wish that I would have done something to prove myself wrong, almost. Like, I wish I had done something to just have something here that's mine and, like, concrete, some kind of life, versus playing knife darts at 3 o'clock in the morning, like that kind of shit.
Well, it totally highlights just how at odds he is. Like, he really wants to be hopeful. Like, he wants to believe in the world, but he's a realist in a lot of ways, right? Like, he's just like, that's not the world we live in, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you choose to have that baby, you spoil that kid every chance you get. Oh, great advice.
Yeah.
John Doe even paid Victor's rent every month on time. Like, that's wild. Dude, Mills says, I'm sick of all this waiting. Somerset's like, this is the job. Like, this is, again, highlighting just how inexperienced each character is. And Somerset even says, it's dismissive to call him a lunatic. Do not make that mistake. Like, like, again, seeding us for the ending and the decision that Mills makes in the end.
Quit trying to put people in a box. I was hoping at the end when he opened it up, it'd be like, boing, and be like her head on a spring. Like, oh, God.
We'll get to her head in the box. Like, there are some takes. There are some takes. I'll get to that. He talks about the will it takes to do what John Doe did, right? Methodical, exacting, and worst of all, patient. Like, this is... I really respect Somerset's approach here. Like, it's kind of like, let's take a step back and look at everything that he's did very meticulously, because you'll see that there's a lot of thought put into this, right? Like, you'll see that there's a lot of pre-planning and pre-thinking. It's not just kind of like what Mills says. He just dismisses Doe as like a nutbag, right? Like, I mean, like, sure, he's a nutbag, but also he is this very intelligent human being.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can also, like we were just talking about off air about people that we don't agree with, but like, that's still, you're an intelligent person. Like,
right.
There's nothing, just because I disagree with you doesn't make you intellectually, defective.
Right.
It's like you can be a genius person that I just think is a horrible,
exactly.
Morally.
Exactly, 100%. Like, you can, like, appreciate their level of intelligence, but you just don't agree with their viewpoint. Absolutely. Mills again says, he says that just because he got a library card doesn't make him Yoda, and this sparks something in Somerset. They meet with this guy. This is Josh Boone Jr. from Batman Begins and Sons of Anarchy. This guy that plays the FBI guy.
He's in a lot of shit, dude.
Dude, so much shit, right? Like, he's always greasy as well. I'm pretty sure I said that on the Batman Begins episode.
Right, it just looks like he, like, if they were waiting on the street corner, he would slide out like Pennywise from the thing. It's like, hey, how you guys doing? You guys got a Diet Coke?
Hey, Flass, I got kids to feed. What, they don't like falafel? That's this guy.
What a fucking asshole.
But basically, he's an FBI officer, and he provides Somerset with a list of people who've checked out these books, right? But again, I like the way the movie kind of like gets into this. It touches on it very briefly. It doesn't go into it in detail, but it's kind of like pre-Patriot Act stuff. Like, like it's kind of like we're gonna bend the rules a little bit to try and apprehend this guy. And I really like that, dude.
The best part was Brad Pitt being like, "Isn't that illegal?" And I was like,
you wait. Just you wait.
Just you wait.
I'm doing the Babu thing from Seinfeld. No.
Very, very bad. You very bad
man. Jerry!
You told me to change the restaurant to Pakistan. I love Babu Bhatt, dude. He's so good.
It's so good, man. Mills smartly suggests that it could bring back the name of a kid researching a paper on the 20th century crime, which is an astute observation by fucking Mills.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, I was like, he took that out, and I'm like, whoa, you thought about that ahead? He is actually, hey, look, Mills is actually a good cop. Like, this is something we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
He's not totally like inefficient. Like, he's actually like the way he's able to, we're about to get in the foot chase, but like the way he like handles himself. He's brash. He's very quick to his feet and things like that. But he's a smart cop. Like, he thinks about things. Well,
also it's like, dude, if you cool your jets long enough to actually, I think he's always kind of short term versus long term thinking. It's almost like seeing the forest for the trees. Yes. And it's like, dude, you kind of have to. You're too involved in like you need to think big picture, like, kind of thing. And I think because here. Now, honestly, if I don't say this now, I will absolutely forget. It's at the end. Let me ask you this. Let's roll reverse. And let's say Somerset is married and has the kid, and it's his wife's head in the box. Do you think Somerset gives in and blows his brains out?
Absolutely not. No way.
Absolutely not. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, here's the thing, though,
long-term versus short-term.
Because you got to think about just how quick Somerset realizes, like, as soon as he opens the box and sees the head, how quick he puts together the pieces and realizes, oh fuck, John Doe's about to win. He literally says John Doe's got the upper hand, right? He will literally not go through with, like, he'll be emotionally affected, I have no doubt. But it's also like this is what he wants.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good question. We sometimes ask each other good questions here. Sometimes.
Well, and to be honest, like, on that same note, I think regardless of what Mills does, he still wins, because it's like, dude, you will become Wrath even if you kill me or not. Like, you might not kill me, but like, you still will be Wrath for the rest of your days.
Oh,
like,
yeah. This is going to mentally affect you for the rest of your days. Absolutely. Mills finds one of the books, St. Thomas Aquinas, who wrote about the 7 deadly sins, and they track it to this apartment under the name Jonathan Doe. And they rock up to the apartment, put that silver tongue of yours to work. Who you been talking to, my wife?
Yeah. Hell yeah, I have.
Hell yeah. She asked me if I was married. I said no. Oh, okay. All right, let's get into this sequence, right? This, man, cinematography again on point. This shot of John Doe at the end of the hall as he just, he drops the bag.
Yeah.
Drops the bag in his left hand and fires on them with his right. It's just burned into my mind, this shot.
He looks like one of the Rainmaker's goons from Looper, with that hat on and
nice.
shit. Like, he looks like fucking Jack Napier in the '89 Batman.
Absolutely. And I wonder, we'll go through this because this isn't just like an action scene. It's not just a scene to just excite in the movie. There's actually a lot of character stuff in here. Like, for instance, Somerset is so quick to spot the pause in Doe's stride. Like when he sees the cops. Like this could have just been anyone living on this side of the building walking to his apartment. But Somerset actually sees him stop and look at them. Like, and that's when he's like, Mills, like, like, check this out. And it's just like, that's things that you pick up from like years of police work, right? Like years of experience. Like, look at this guy just like instantly react very quickly, very subtly to our like presence. It's good stuff. And yeah, like, I mean, look, this again, the foot chase, right? So they go about this in very different ways. It's very telling. Mills is very brash and aggressive. He literally yells to the people in the apartment building, "Get out of the fucking hall, please." Like he's using harsh language.
Yeah.
And as he chases Doe, while Somerset is strategic and goes out like the back way, right? Another little detail that I really picked up this time around, and at least initially, Somerset is traversing this building without his gun in his hand, but instead has his badge at the ready in his hand. Whereas Mills isn't flashing his badge; he's just branding his gun. He's got his gun out. Like, I just found that like really interesting, dude. Like Somerset is ready to show his badge and not use the gun, whereas Mills is the other way. I could just be anyone. I'm just going to go straight to the violence and not even just show my gun badge. Sorry.
Yeah, like you see Somerset running around and he's got it in hand, but it's not like Mills is pointing it around every single corner.
And the way
but he's also
right. It's very like like the gun is often at the forefront of the shots.
Right, exactly. Like with Somerset, it's hard to you don't even see him run around a corner aiming a gun because it's like, dude, that's not his style.
Right. Exactly.
Plus, of course, he's got a 6-shooter and Mills has like a auto or
like a Beretta. Or
I don't know what it is. Yeah. 45 or a 9mm. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Dude, this again. Some shots of this movie are entire like burned into my mind. The shot of like John Doe's like silhouette as he jumps over that stairwell, like that banister. Like, like you get that shot of like Mills looking through that window and you just see a really quick flash of him jumping over. And it's like, love that shot, dude. But Doe is very clumsy in his escape as he runs across the street, even takes a hit. Again, incredible cinematography here as Doe just closes in on the injured Mills. Like his reflection in the puddle, that blurred out shot, dude, like looking up at Doe in the background as the rain is hitting the pistol in the foreground. Oh, goddamn.
Well, and there's something interesting right here that I wanted to ask you, and I think we're about to ask
each other the same question, to be honest.
Well, all right. Let me ask you this. So, and I don't want to skip too far ahead. He lets him live and all this other stuff. So Doe says it like, "You've changed my plan. I have to kind of recalibrate." Like later on the phone.
Yes.
But my thing is like, what was his plan before Mills got involved? Like my thing is like, was there just another person you were going to murder and this was going to be it? Or did you find Mills and like, oh shit, like I can really bring this full circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's been looking for victims because the fact that they don't find a wrath or an envy in his apartment when they break in, right? Like they don't find photos relating to a wrath or an envy, but like rather they find lust, right? Like I don't think he's fully planned out the last two victims, and it's not until he comes face to face with Mills here that is just like, all right, I've got my plan now. Like, like I've got this now.
I think, yeah, when he's on the stairwell and he's like, I play by my emotion, I feed into him, and you can see it's like, it kind of cracked me up because the guy on the stairwell, I was like, he looks like fucking Mike Myers. He's got these glasses and the wig on and stuff, and I was like, oh shit, like that's fucking mind blowing, man. And I really enjoyed that because I was wondering. Obviously at this point when he's got the gun to his head, I think he already has made the decision of like, oh, I have greater plans for you. Like I can't, if I kill you here, it's going to ruin everything. But there is something I just wondered in that moment, like exactly what, if he had not gotten Mills, exactly what his play, you think he'd just, kill two more people and write it on the wall and be done with it? Or you think he'd try to do something else?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think he had figured it out at that point yet. Like, it's kind of like, I'm kind of like looking around still because he says I had to adjust my time frame. Like, he says I had to adjust, he says something about changing his time scale, right? Like, like maybe he was going to commit envy and wrath in a few months or something when he located the victims. But like, I don't really know Like, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of need to piece it together, like who he would have chosen. But
right. It could be anybody.
Yeah, but again, like, I love that he wasn't intending on Somerset and Mills to show up at the apartment, right? Like, he was like totally caught off guard.
He's not perfect. Yeah.
He's not perfect, but he also underestimated Somerset's willingness to bend the rules a little bit, right?
Well, it's the moment seeing. It's like seeing Joker wait for the fucking boats to get blown up, and he's just like looking at the two of them and kind of like, oh fuck, or seeing Captain Marvel rip through Thanos' ship in the Endgame, and he's just like, oh god damn it, dude. And it's like those moments where you actually see them like, oh fuck. Like I enjoyed that.
Totally. We get to Doe's apartments. Oh wait, hold on. They can't. Oh dude, this is one of my favorite things as like as a lawyer, like, and like just someone who's into true crime. They can't get into the apartment because they have no probable cause to be there. Like that I love this conversation that they have. Like, you know, how did we get here? Like, we need a reason to be able to knock on this door, you know? Because like they can't put it in their reports that, hey, look, we went to the FBI. We did this like secret bullshit. You know, like, it's good stuff. And like Pitt, I love Pitt here, man. Like, he's just so good here as Somerset tries to make him understand, get the fuck off me. Like, you know, he's just so dude, angry.
My favorite, when he kicks in the door and Freeman's just like, you stupid son of a bitch, dude. Like, but no, I mean, dude, yeah,
I love him kicking up in the door, but not only do I love the shot as like they kind of like pan back and he's just in the doorway, but well, there's no point arguing anymore unless you can fix that.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking of. Like, you're two detectives, make something up. Be like, oh yeah, I smell weed coming from the apartment. Like, I don't care, lie. Like, fucking make something up, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they eventually do, right? Like, they pay this crackhead to give them the cops a story, which is, again, I think clever.
Yeah.
And okay, look, I think this set here is just as good as the Sloth set. This is Doe's apartment, right? Aspirin bottles, numerous locks on the door, Victor's severed hand, spaghetti sauce, a receipt from Wild Bill's leather shop, the bed with the cross right above it in neon light, dude. Like,
what is with all the aspirin bottles?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I figure like this is kind of like tied into like the conversation that he has on the way to you know, like out in the boonies. But like he talks about like how, you know, that person on the train, on the subway, was talking about her life or whatever, and he just threw up like involuntarily. I feel like when people talk to this guy, he just gets a headache. Like, you know, like he just starts to develop like a physical pain or like something. Like, you know, It's just like, I can't tolerate this anymore. And like you get this with a lot of like criminal minds, like, you know, people who just are so like afflicted by headaches. Like, I think that's like a common thing, right? Like, isn't like headaches like a signal for like a pretty crazy like mental affliction? Often
the screenplay described Doe's apartment in great detail, and Walker had strong justifications for everything. For example, the windows were painted black because if one were to carry on as a serial killer, we need privacy, and there was a drawer full of empty aspirin bottles because Walker says a serial killer would have endless thoughts running through his head that would cause him headaches. Plus, he'd probably keep the bottles because they're a nice shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
That's weird.
Well, that's what I thought too. Like, I mean, like, I feel like he'd be, but like that also ties into, again, like what I was saying too, like just the way that he reacts with people, like, you know, on the subway, someone talks to him, immediately gets a headache. Like, you know, just kind of like the way he thinks about people.
Yeah, this is not a guy who's going to go smoke a joint. This is a guy who's like, I wouldn't surprise me at all if he just takes aspirin and just it's psychosomatic, and he's like, all right, my headache goes away, and like not really have a headache. Like, I don't know.
No, absolutely. Dude, what do you think about him just like that neon red cross, dude? Like, that is intense.
Oh, it felt like some From Dusk Till Dawn shit. Like, there's something about that looking at it, I was like, man, this feels like it'd be up in the titty twister.
It reminded me a lot of, like, you know, like Somerset goes to sleep with the sound of the metronome, whereas this guy goes to sleep with the sound of like neon, like right above him.
Man.
Yeah. Oh God. Again, the atmosphere that Finch is able to achieve is incredible, with Shaw's like score just beneath it, man. Like he's got these strings going. Mills finds the makeshift dark room with all these photos of the victims. Dude, get this right. And like maybe you saw a little bit of this. All of these notebooks actually contained writing.
Holy shit, really?
All of the notebooks were filled. The pages were filled with writing. The handwritten books took over 2 months for the production team to finish and reportedly added over 15 grand to the film's production.
Jesus Christ, man. That is, dude, you open up
intense.
I'm sorry. Like I'm all for really, really getting it down, but it's like we literally look in like 2 or 3 of them and that's it. That is, I'm sorry. Like that is such a fucking waste.
I agree with that. That's Fincher wanting to be like Stanley Kubrick, dude. Like it's just like we need immersion. Maybe that's what he's going for, right? Like, I need, because like if you also look at like the actual writing, dude, like the evenly sized wording, like the close togetherness of the actual words, it looks disturbing. Mm-hmm. Like the actual writing itself looks disturbing.
Again, it's claustrophobic of just like there's something about when you look at the pages
feels
and
like
everything.
This, right? Like just
there's not a spot for you to just stop and rest your eyes on the white for a second. Like Jesus.
Yeah, that's a good take. God damn it. I thought I was clever, but Mills discovers a photo of the two and laments the fact that they were so close they had him on the stairs and let him go. Oh man, imagine finding that photo. Like you're Mills, you find that photo and you're just like, fuck.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, you're fucking dead, dude. Like you or Gwyneth Paltrow are fucking dead. Like something's gonna happen here.
They got his only source of money. Haven't found a single fingerprint.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I mean, not finding a single print, like I get it, but it's like, but is there not like a giant bloody mess from where he's been cutting his fingerprints off for months? Like,
unless he didn't cut it off here, right? I mean, like, unless he like did it somewhere else. I don't know, but like maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really want to know like the details of that, but it's
do. I'm like, dude, like, why don't you just get one of those Men in Black machines? You just like fry your fingerprints off, or like, I'm sure Del Gribble from King of the Hill has a few ways to like get rid of some fingerprints, Oh
yeah, you just like you hold your fucking palm over a stove and you're good,
Yeah, you sandpaper them off, man.
Yeah, this fucking John Doe's a bitch. Somerset's just reading, right? Like, how good is this, dude? Like, Mills just walks in and, like, Somerset's made himself comfortable. Says there's 2,000 notebooks and about 250 pages. And he reads, like, a bit of an excerpt, right? Are you ready for this? Here we go. What sick little puppets we are. What a gross little stage we dance on. What's fun we have. Dancing, fucking, not a care in the world. Not knowing that we are nothing. We are not what was intended. Oh boy, that shit! Like, talk about a glass half full, right?
Well, and I kind of, whenever they were talking in the car later on, which is kind of the closest you really get to like his explanation of exactly why he's doing this, which it is a good explanation. But I'm like, what do you think our intention was? Like, what do you consider like a good person to be? Like, it is, obviously it's not Somerset. If you know anything about Somerset, that's not, I mean, he's made mistakes along the way too.
Well, he forced someone to abort a baby, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, at what point, what person do you consider to be like good? Basically somebody that hasn't committed any kind of air quote sin,
I feel like someone who, maybe the word would be pious, right? Like someone who really follows like the Bible, like stringently. Maybe that would be his ideal person. Because like I had totally, well, first few times I saw this, I don't know how, because it was like staring me in the face, but I'd let the religious stuff kind of like fly right over my head. Like, I was just like, oh, it's just I think I was like Mills, right? I was like, oh, it's just a fucking nut job who's obsessed with 7 deadly sins. But that's not the case, right? Like, he quite clearly is a very religious fanatic, right? Because he says he was chosen by God.
Right, yeah. And I think that's interesting when they're talking about that Victor guy earlier. There's almost like, I don't think, obviously they don't have the right person, but there is something, the overlap there of like, what early Ermy says of like, Ray's hardcore Baptist, something went wrong along the way. And it's like, yes, I feel like that definitely still applies to John Doe.
Absolutely. The phone rings. Dude, I love, again, this is Pitt here that I really dig. I love how he's just like, phone, who's got a phone? Like, he's just sliding his body everywhere. He's intensely looking for the phone. He's desperate to find it. And he picks it up, and we know immediately that it's Spacey's voice. Like, it's just like, oh, yep, that's Kevin Spacey. But back then, I guess it was a bit more of a surprise. He tells them that he'll be readjusting his schedule and that he admires them. He apologizes for hurting one of them, and he doesn't want to ruin the surprise. Boom. They find a photo of the blonde and Somerset. She looks like a pro. So they follow the receipt. So Wild Bill's leather on Saturday, and this guy, the clerk, says he recognizes John Doe. He had a limp. I'm about to blow your mind with something. If you look in the background, at 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 38 seconds, just after the clerk says, yeah, he had a limp, in the background, you'll see a man approaching the window, holding an umbrella with a lamp, just peering into the store intently.
Okay, because, dude, there was a point where, like, you can see behind them so well. And I was like, dude, like, and because there's a couple of shots where they're closer up, and there's a couple where they kind of back off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 124, 35, 36, 37.
38. That guy with the limp who just approaches.
Yeah, he's kind of like swaying in the door. Like, I don't think it's him, but it is.
I don't think
it
it's
definitely
him,
is kind
but
of.
it's also like that's
It's spooky.
pretty creepy. Yeah,
Spooky.
like, crazy, man. I don't know. Like, that really made my kind of like skin crawl. I was just, ooh, like, imagine if like he's been stalking them like this. I think he has been. Like, after the stairwell.
Oh, yeah.
After the stairwell, absolutely. Like, it's like, I want to know my victim a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any way that this ending is successful if he doesn't. I mean, he has to figure out. Yeah, because, I mean, he pays information to find out where they live and stuff. So, yeah, absolutely.
He wanted something custom made.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Somerset gets a call. They found the blonde. And they head to this club where the police have taken control. Now, this is where I messaged you, Colin. And I was like, I have a crazy Easter egg for you, and I'm wondering if you're going to pick up on this.
Who the guy in the booth is?
Yes. Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's, dude, as soon as I saw him, the guy is, for
Michael
one thing,
Massey.
is it Michael Massey from The Crow, and he was in Tales from the Hood. Like, he's in a bunch of shit that I recognize him from. But he, unfortunately, and this really sucks, he's the one that pulled the trigger on the set. And it's not his fault by any means, but that really fucked that dude up, and I always felt bad for him. But dude, he's so distinctive looking. I immediately, he's like, I got this thing with my teeth. And I was like, oh yeah, that's him. Yeah. That's him.
He looks like he could play the Green Goblin.
Yeah, like, he looks like he should be pushing heroin on like school children. Like, there's something about that guy that's just, he's like Axl Rose's like not talented cousin. It's just weird slinky kind of vibe.
Totally. Like, when I messaged you, I had totally forgotten that he gets interrogated with the cock knife guy. And like, I thought this was his only kind of like appearance, just really quickly in the booth. And that's when I messaged you. I was like, dude, like, like, get ready. Like, there's an Easter egg for you. And then like, like, he features prominently a bit later in the interview. And I was just like, oh, Colin's going to know this for sure. But yeah, man, like, that's crazy. Imagine pulling the trigger on Brandon Lee, leading to his death and living with that dude. And then dying. He passed away in 2016, but crazy.
Yeah. He said that shit really fucked him up. I'm like, I don't blame you.
Yeah, crazy. But this might be some of the best cinematography in the entire movie as they're heading down in the club here. It's the red lighting, dude. Like, that really gets me.
Yeah.
Oh, looks fantastic. Lust is like carved in the door. You see the dead blonde on the bed, but you don't see her. You see Somerset Mills in the foreground, and you just see kind of like her hair and her feet, like kind of like splayed out. And you just, like, it's really, really interesting, like, framing. I love it. And this dude is just, dude, man, this guy scares the fuck out of me. Just him crying, get this thing off of me. Like, oh,
dude, yeah. At first, I was like, holy shit, he fucked that dude with that thing on. And I was like, that's the first thing I thought was like, he somehow put this thing on this dude, fucked him, and wrapped it around him and locked it into him or something. And I was like, oh my God. We just talked about this guy, by the way.
Who?
This guy, the guy that he forces to use the knife, the strap knife, as I call it. He's in Daredevil. He's like the Daredevil's like right hand man.
What?
We just talked Ben Affleck, Daredevil.
He's
You talking about the guy with the
man?
cocked knife?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy in Daredevil that we were just talking about. He's like this slimy little no, nothing without an appointment, sir. And I was like, he's like, Stanley, back the fuck up or something like that. That's that same guy. I'm pretty sure, dude. I'm like
Wesley.
99%.
Oh yeah, no,
Wesley.
That's fucking Kingpin's right hand man. I was just like,
yes,
wait,
yes.
right hand man. Like that's
No,
Jon Favreau.
my bad.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
This be a very different scene with Jon Favreau. Hey, guys, can we get this thing off me? I thought I was hanging out with Weinstein. Can we get this thing off me, please?
Boy. Yeah, he's got the fucking curly Jew fro. I love it. But it's also like, man, like this is again like real like theater of the mind stuff, right? Like we don't see the actual act. We see the aftermath. We see the perpetrator's reaction, and we see the murder weapon, right? Like all of this is just painting a picture like in your mind. And it's just like Finch is just like, you guys imagine what this will look like, and that'll creep you out enough, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's also, seeing the after, like, you know, watching a bomb fall is like, oh shit. But then seeing the people affected from like the nuclear fallout and stuff is even more horrifying.
Yeah. By the way, that dick knife, man, that thing looks gnarly.
That is some like, whew. I can think of some fucked up shit, but like fucking somebody with a knife is one of those, like, Jesus Christ, man. Like that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of which death is probably the most brutal in this.
I'd say Sloth.
Sloth is pretty bad. Sloth is psychologically horrifying because that dude is he's a vegetable now. But as far as like physical pain goes, like, dude, somebody, that's like, I can't even imagine. I can't even. Oh God, that's so hard to even contemplate because it's just, again, it's such a violation of just like, as soon as you see that thing, does your asshole not just go?
Oh,
and like you're like, oh Jesus, dude! It'd be like, everybody kind of. It makes me think when Jerry's dad falls on the pasta in Seinfeld and everybody starts switching the chair. I was like, oh God, that drives me nuts, dude.
I remember hearing about the dick knife like before watching this movie. And I remember thinking, you know, like I watched this movie and I was like, oh, nothing happened. Like, you know, like it was kind of like nothing.
Yeah.
You don't see anything. And I was like, you know, obviously as like a teenager, you're wanting to see the most brutal thing because you're a fucking teenager. But at the same time, like now I appreciate this so much more that we don't see it. Like, you know, again, just the theater of the mind stuff it's just my favorite thing on the planet.
I would just love to see Kevin Spacey turn a corner with that thing on, and then there's Tom Savini from Dusk Till Dawn. And he's like, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Just flips his dick gun out.
God. Mills and Somerset try and comprehend what they're up against with Somerset telling Mills that this isn't going to have a happy ending, right? This is the bar scene. I think probably the best acting out of these two, both in the entire film, probably.
I think it's my favorite out of Pitt. With Freeman, there's something about Morgan Freeman I like a lot more when he gets excited. I think my favorite parts of Morgan Freeman are when they gather shit up and they start going to the library. They pay that guy after going to the library. That's because the whole movie, he's just such a sad bastard. Like the whole movie, Morgan Freeman is just this like lonely guy. But then when he gets excited and he's on the beat, you'd be like, dude, I see the Brad Pitt in you. I see what you used to be. And like, that's the shit but it's a standout scene because it's one of the few times that Mills walks away kind of leaving Somerset to think about something, you know, versus Somerset leaving Mills to think about something. It's a little bit of a role reversal there that I like that he kind of leaves Somerset stumped and kind of questioning stuff. I was like, that's cool. I like that.
Yep, I feel you. But yeah, look, Somerset says he's not the devil. He's just a man. If you think you're preparing me for hard times, thank you, but no. Like this is okay. Look, if Somerset kind of like puts into Mills's mind that, hey, don't be disappointed when we catch this guy. Do you think the ending kind of like plays out a bit differently? Because like that's what kind of like Somerset's doing here. Like he's kind of like don't build this guy up to be something. To be your white whale. Like, you know, don't be your Captain Ahab. This is the fucking whale. Like, don't build him up to be. He's just a fucking man, right? Like, do you think if he kind of like, instills this whole idea of like, this guy's just a human being. Like, you know, do you think the ending goes differently? I don't think it does. Not just that alone.
So I want to make sure. So it's Mills who is kind of building him up to be Satan, right?
Yes.
And it's Somerset saying like, hey, at the end of the day, he is just a guy.
Right.
Like, don't make something mythical out of him.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think at the end, once he realizes exactly what's going on, I don't think Mills gives a fuck. I think he still blows his brains out. Well, I don't know, because it is kind of like, if he's just a man and you're like, this is a man just trying to destroy you at your core, this is not an elemental force. Like, because I think it comes back to Mills being like, I want to make a difference in the world. And it's ultimately, it's so funny. It's almost like Somerset as Batman being like, no, we can't kill the Joker. And just anybody else in the world being like, dude, blow his fucking brains out, man. Like, any logical person's like, kill this motherfucker.
I like that analogy. That's good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's also Batman's things like, if you do this, you break your one rule, and I get you. And even if I die, we talked about this on Dark Knight Returns. It's like, even with me dead, like, it's a temporary victory. I win in the long run. It's like, shit. It's like the opposite of making a martyr out of somebody. It's like you make them out to be such a terrible person.
Yeah, totally. Somerset thinks he's naive as Mills just straight up tells him that I don't agree with you. I can't. These are two very different people who have seen and experienced two very different careers, as we've been saying. It's interesting, though, because like there are a couple of things that really bring both of these people here, like to where they are. It's the spatial location, right? So Pitt's character and Tracy have only been in the city for not that long. They just moved here, right? So they're not colored by the entire city experience that Somerset has. Right, it's kind of like being close to like hell or some shit, like, you know, and like being like an optimist because you just arrived. Like, you know, it's just like, oh yeah, hey guys, I just got here, kind of thing. Like, you know, I don't know why you guys are all so fucking depressed.
Right? Yeah. It's like the guy, like, it's like the guy who shows up late to the party and the couple was just screaming at each other, and he's like, God, who fucking died? You know, and it's like, oh, you're kind of late to the party.
But it's also like, you know, in addition to like their location and like where they grew up, whatever, like how long they've been here, I think it's also the people you kind of like choose to share and go through life with, right? I mean, like Mills goes home that night and hugs Tracy and tells her, I love you. And Somerset goes home to his metronome that he hurls across the room. Like, you know, it's just kind of like the people that you choose to spend your life with and go through life with will 100% affect your outlook on it. Like it's really a clever way to show it.
Yes. Well, it's also to kind of chime in on what you're saying there. It's both of them going home to their rhythm, because it's like Tracy is the rhythm for Brad Pitt. Like, you are the thing that when everything else is just going crazy, I can look and get things back on center.
She's your constant.
But for right. But it's so funny for Somerset with that metronome has been the thing. I can't imagine falling asleep to a metronome. That would drive me crazy. That clicking sound, dude. But ultimately, it ends up being the thing that what's interesting about the metronome is how perfect and how rhythmic. And it's not a person. It's not a place. It's not anything but a perfect measurement of time passing by. And it's so funny to see him eventually just turn on that thing and be like, the one thing in the world that you know, the one thing in this movie that you know is 100% accurate and 100% true and is not full of shit is that little metronome clicking, and he destroys it. Yeah. And it's like, get this, nothing makes sense anymore. Get this fucking bullshit out of here, dude. Nice. Like, I love that. I love it so much.
Nice. Oh, God, this is why I love the podcast. We get to Sunday, right? 911 receives a call from Doe. I've gone and done it again. And we get Pride. Right? Sleeping pills glued to one hand, telephone glued to the other, sliced up and then bandaged her. Pride in this movie is kind of just, it's not thrown away, but it's very
It's a
quick.
flash in the pan.
Yeah, it's very quick.
Yes.
And that was really interesting to me, considering that it's Pride, and like if Pride was like a person, then it would want to be featured more itself. Like, you know, it's like, hey, I'm Pride. Where the fuck am I? But it's also like, I think it's kind of like more of like a pacing and timing thing, because we didn't talk about the pacing in this. The pacing in this is fucking incredible. Like, we are barreling towards the ending of the movie. Like, we're about to hit, like, John Doe is about to reveal himself, and from there, it's just like a straight shot to the end. So it's like, there's like no slowdown at all.
I honestly, if you tacked on another 30 minutes to an hour of this, I wouldn't even care.
Yeah,
like
same.
I wouldn't mind it at all. Like, you know, they made comic books out of this.
Did they?
And like 06 or 07, I don't know. And I'm probably talking out of term here, but I think I read it on Wikipedia or something that they did comic books from John Doe's perspective.
Oh,
on like 06 or 07 or something. But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
no, I
True Detective feels like the perfect extension to this, I think. Like, if we were to get a sequel or like even like a prequel or something, I think it'll be that first season of True Detective.
I can't tell you how down I am to like any show that has one season doing like Firefly or True Detective, like anything that has one season, just banging them out like free.
It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming.
Yeah. Like a knife dick. It's coming.
Yeah,
Get out of here. Get out of its way.
Actually, I don't even think you can come with a knife dick. I think you just start slicing. Ooh.
Oh, no. I mean, get out. It's like you got to get out of the way because this thing's coming towards you.
Oh,
you
yeah. For sure.
Jesus, not every. Get your mind out of the gutter, dude.
Cut off her nose to spite her face. Dude, one little detail that I kind of like noticed this time around, but I don't know how I missed it the last few times. The portrait of the way she used to look, just like buried like among the pillows, dude, as like just by her head. It's just like, this is like a reminder of like what I've done. Like, you know, this is what she used to look like, and here's my handiwork. And it's just like, oh, love it.
Yeah, this is the only thing, like what you said, it feels like a flash in the pan of like, I wish this had just been set up maybe a little bit earlier. Like if this were a character that we knew, or if this were someone. Yeah, but that's kind of the thing. You can't show him stalking anybody.
Right.
Because you can't show him tailing this person. But I wish there's some way to wrap that back in. But I mean, I guess if that's my strongest complaint against this movie, it's not very strong.
Yeah, I think that's a common complaint. The fact that Pride kind of like seems a little, not rushed, but kind of thrown in there a little bit. Because
I honestly, I thought it was going to be Somerset was Pride and he was going to end up being Wrath.
Nice.
And I was like, oh shit. Like, you know, but that it's not really, it wouldn't really make any sense, you know?
We got the shot of Doe exiting the taxi, all bloody like. And I'm just going to play this. I'm just going to play this. Here we go. Ready?
Detective.
After this, I'm gone.
No big surprise.
Detective!
You're looking for me.
Hey! What's your fucking moves? On the fucking floor. Keep away from him! On the fucking floor!
I know you.
Now! Get out! Get down! On your stomach, you piece of shit! Now! All the way! All the way, fucker! Down! Faster! Faster! Faster, fucker! Now!
Faster!
Nose on the ground! Jesus Christ. The fuck is this?
I'd like to speak to my lawyer, please.
God damn it!
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Man, like, if you were to give me a list of 10 of my favorite movie scenes of all time, this would be up there. Like, just the execution of this is just top notch. I mean, look, I know practically it doesn't make too much sense, right? I mean, like, did John Doe like get in the taxi cab and like the driver asked no questions about the blood?
Guy was like, okay,
yeah, okay,
like,
cool. You're fucking, it's like Halloween's 2 months away, dude. What are you doing? But also, like, you know, him walking into the police station and like no one noticing the blood, blah, blah, blah. I get that. I get those complaints, but at the same time, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's just kind of like, dude, the execution of this scene is absolutely incredible because I am not expecting John Doe to hand himself in. Like, you know, like the first time I saw this, that was nowhere near in my mind. Like that whole kind of like concept that John Doe was going to hand himself in. There's just no way. Like, I was like, this guy's elusive. This guy is like methodical. Like the way he ran, you know, like when he saw them outside his apartment, like there's no way he's going to hand himself in. And like, here he is, like, you know, handing himself in the most gruesome way possible. But not only that, it's Kevin Spacey. And then you get Howard Shaw's like score in the background, dude. Like the boom, boom, like the horns. Oh, it's outstanding. And couple that with Brad Pitt's reaction, dude. Hey! And he's like, down, get on the ground. Oh, it's incredible, man. incredible.
And there's something where this became somewhat of a tropey, like, I guess really after Dark Knight, because it's like Joker wants to get caught, Loki wants to get caught, this person wants to get caught, and it's like, okay, cool. But this is really like, I'm sure this is not the first movie to do that or the first story to do that, but this is like, I guess the most modern recent one I can remember, basically it being, it's all part of my plan. No, there is something. Okay, so I actually looked up, and I'm sorry to jump back at this scene, but it's when we find Pride.
Yes.
And they don't even say her name. So if you look on the pill bottle, it says her name is Rachel Shade. And I was like, Googling it. Don't care, Googling it. And there's a Wikipedia for her.
What?
Rachel Shade is a minor character in Seven and is the fifth victim of John Doe. Background: Rachel is a famous model and has a daughter named Sophia, whom she is verbally abusive to, which John Doe catches notice of. I think this is all from the comic book. Everything's animated. I'm looking at it right now. Doe poses as a photographer only to attack Rachel in her bedroom, declaring her to be an unfit mother. He claimed her sin was pride and mutilated her face with a knife. He then gives her a choice: call 911 or take lethal pills. She chooses the pills, and the death was detonated, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, there's I'm looking at there's a villains.fandom.com, and that's it. That's literally all that they talk about.
That's cool. But I don't need it, but I like that it's there. It's kind of like,
I had to, dude, I get like OCD. If I see like names on prescription bottles or newspapers, it's like, I have to Google it. That's going to drive me crazy.
Totally. But back to the scene in question.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. The cinematography here is just astounding. I'll tell you a great detail that I loved. The blood on his shirt looks black, right? Like it's not that like, it's like that arterial spray, like the really deep blood. It's not like surface level, like bright red or anything like that. It just looks brutal, because like we come to find out that it just come from like cutting off Gwyneth Paltrow's head, right?
Right. Okay, so that's what I was like. Now I took this as not the blood from him cutting off her head, because I guess I have nothing to back up that that's exactly what happened. I assume so, because he says the morning after at the thing, I went to your house and cut your wife's head off.
Yeah, but also,
right?
Yes, that is right. But also Richard Roundtree's character says there is a third identification of blood on that we haven't identified yet.
I forgot all about that. And I was like, oh, that'll be, whatever. No, yeah, because I assumed it was all the blood from having to constantly cut his finger, from the skin growing back, having to cut his fingerprints off. But there's also this really cool, if you look at the blood, it's this weird, like almost like a diagonal slash where it's like there's all this blood on one side but not the other, and I was like, oh, that's kind of not like down the middle, but it's a weird layout of like the blood splatter.
Well, I mean, like if you've seen enough like forensics, whatever, like when someone, and I don't want to get into too much detail about this, but like if you were to cut off someone's head, right? And just the way you'd be like slicing, there would be spurts of blood spouting up from everywhere. So it wouldn't be just like a splash, like if you were to dump paint on something, it wouldn't just be like this circular kind of like big pattern. It would be in spurts, like it'll be in lines, So like that is consistent. Just the amount of like detail that I think Fincher went into this is just beautiful. But couple this with Kevin Spacey's line delivery, the dead behind the eyes kind of like line delivery, dude, like the doll-like eyes. And then it's like, you're looking for me. It's just, beautiful, dude. I love it so much. Can we spend more time on this scene, please?
Yeah.
You know what, man?
I keep trying to picture Michael Stipe from REM, and I'm like, I like Kevin Spacey a lot, and knowing what I know about him, it does kind of add to the creep factor.
Yeah.
But with Michael Stipe is such a soft-spoken, like vegan, very like outspoken, politically nice guy that to see him just be like, oh, hi, I'm the one you're looking for. Like, I could not imagine him saying those lines.
Totally. You know what, man? I was taking notes for this movie last night, and I had to keep rewinding this scene, like just in terms of like. The shout, what do you think about the shout, right? Like, so detective, and then detective! Like, it's kind of like this, I am fucking pissed off that you're not able to get this,
Well, I think this is a guy that in almost every other altercation in his life, except for the violent stuff, that he is not one to make a peep. He's probably not the person to make a noise or even complain about stuff. But then when
if
he
someone
is like,
fucks up his order at a restaurant, he's going to just eat it, right? He's not going to send it back.
Exactly. Right. But with this, it's like, dude, I have come so far that like I demand your acknowledgement. Like I demand that you that you pay attention to this. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing about like, so John, do you want to tell us why you did it? Well, because it's the end of the world as we know it. It's like all I can think of.
I love it. But yeah, let's get into this. So, yes, so he cuts his fingers off. He's got no credit history, no bank account, independently wealthy, well educated, and totally insane. And the captain wants him to go to court now, right? This is a committal hearing. Mills says that this doesn't make sense. He just wouldn't hand himself in. And again, this is the payoff, right, between Somerset and Mills, like them kind of like butting heads throughout the entire movie, because this is the one time where they both agree on something. Like for the first time ever, you and I are in total agreement. Like, they've come to it's interesting to me that it took this psychopathic killer to bring together these two police officers' thinking, like mindsets.
Well, it's like if you're looking at these, if you stack like both of their lines on top of each other, put one at the top left corner, put one at the bottom right corner, and as the story goes, they're both going towards the middle, and this I feel like is the one moment that they both like, boop, like boop each other on the way to the other end of the line.
It's like when you're like when in the office when like they're looking at the DVD player and it's got that like screensaver and like the squares bouncing into
it never
the corner.
touches the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That shit never does either.
No, it never does. The lawyer, this lawyer guy, do you know this actor Richard Schiff? He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Very familiar.
Most notably from The West Wing, but he had a pretty big part in The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
That's right. Okay, yeah, that's where I remember.
He's the one that gets split in half by those two T-Rexes, dude. Crazy. Doe says that there are two more bodies. He'll take Somerset and Mills to the bodies because he admires them. Claims that if they don't accept, they'll never find the bodies, and he will plead insanity. We all know with the extreme nature, the lawyer can get him off, right? And that's true. That's actually like the logic here is sound. Like the blackmail stuff that they bring in, the admissibility of evidence, like all of this tracks. Like, like the lawyer, what I love about the lawyer, especially when Pitt says, God, like, he starts reducing him. He's like, you sitting there in your $3,000 suit. How can you defend this guy? The lawyer says, he's my client. Like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
He takes no joy in doing this. He takes no joy. Like, there's no smirk on his face. Like, there's no like, I am in on this with John Doe. It's like, I am appointed to do this. Like, this has to be done, and I'm sorry. Like,
There's something interesting about when they look to, oh my God, Mills. Jesus, my brain just like skipped. When they look to Mills and they're like, hey, it's your call. He's like, I want to roll on it. We got a confession. Let's go. And it's like, dude, if you had just literally I'm going to go home for lunch.
Yeah.
It would blow this whole thing wide open.
Yeah.
I would love to see him like look at Kevin Spacey and be like, I think I'm going to run home real quick. And him just be like, detective? Like, detective.
So you don't want to see the bodies? Yeah. But
there's no, if he were like, no, I want to wait 24 hours, he'd be like, we do it now or it's not happening. Like, there's no way. Like, I don't think there's any way. Because that's literally all it takes is for Brad Pitt to go, shit, I think I left my wallet at home. I'd be like, oh, hold on. Dude, I strapped that guy at an apartment for a year. You're not fucking this up for me. Okay? You're not fucking this up.
Okay, I'm too far gone. I think the way that Doe strong arms them into coming is really clever, though. Like, the lawyer says, dude, like, if you don't go and find these two bodies, the media's going to be all up your ass. Like, like, this is going to be a fucking witch hunt. So you gotta saddle up and get out there. I'm sorry. And like Richard Roundtree's like, well, he's unarmed, right? Like, what do we have to lose? Like, you know, like...
See, and that's what kills me is even though his lawyer is just like, hey, you know, I think this guy's kind of a piece of shit too, but I have to represent him. Nobody in this room is going to say shit to the press but you. And it's like, so you're basically saying that if you don't do what I want you to, I'll basically blackmail you. It's like, that is fucking crazy, man. Like, even though you know this guy's a crazy piece of shit, like, I get, you know, everybody deserves their day in court for the most part. You've got to represent some people, but like, dude, you don't have to go to the press and say shit.
Do you reckon
Doe, you don't have to at all?
Do you reckon Doe has a contingency plan? Like, do you reckon that he's actually found and killed 2 people and somehow like buried them out there as kind of like a, you know, let's say Mills and Somerset don't go out there, right? And the lawyer doesn't say anything about the 2 bodies, but in incarceration, Doe starts talking about 2 bodies that are out there that he's actually buried and killed, and then the media gets wind of it, and then it's like, well, what the fuck were the cops doing in relation to this?
Yeah.
Like, there's no evidence to suggest that happened, but it's also kind of like, I want to believe that John Doe had contingencies. Like, you know?
Well, that it fits his character,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I guess I could, it wouldn't surprise me, but again, you would have to, I guess it wouldn't surprise me, but I find it doubtful because you would have to go to some way of like, you know, setting it up and doing this and doing that when it's like, dude, you're running out of time. You've been kicked out of your bat cave, basically. Like that's why I feel like when he gets out of the apartment, these last 2 deaths are, for one thing, Pride is very quick. And I think it's because he's like, okay, I'm running out of time. I don't have a lot of shit. You know, I don't have all my shit to do this right now. And then at the end, I mean, obviously John Doe is an extremely intelligent person because that's when he starts realizing like, oh yeah, okay, so I'll just do this and I'll do that and then he'll kill me. And it's like, damn, dude, that's it's so fucking evilly genius. But like your plan works. And then literally all you had to do was you didn't even kill anybody that was a sin. You killed this woman to push the last 2 into place of envy and then wrath. Like, damn, that's cool.
Right, totally. The mayor says they'll be escorting an unarmed man, and importantly, there's blood on him from an as yet unidentified third party. Sorry. Interestingly, as they're shaving down here, Somerset tries to prep Mills by basically telling him to expect the unexpected. Right. Like, this is...
I don't care if his head opens up and a spaceship comes down and laugh my ass off.
So good. Because it's also... I think Somerset's kind of like starting to see the writing on the wall. Like, you know, like he's seeing just how kind of like impressionable and aggressive Mills has been. Like, you know, he's just like... He's easy to manipulate. Like, you know, he's very easy to play with.
Yes.
And it's just like, Somerset knows this. Somerset knows just how easy he is to manipulate. Somerset understands the antagonist as well, John Doe. And Somerset probably has an idea of what's going to happen, but just not how it's going to happen, you know? It's good stuff.
You know what? Hit me like a fucking ton of bricks is watching them in the car drive out to the spot. And it's like you have Somerset and then Mills and John Doe. And it's like Somerset feels like neutral and Mills is, I mean, I think he absolutely is probably morally I don't know, that's such an abstract term of like the more moral of all 3 people, because he's this very much so like, no, everybody gets brought to justice. I'm not apathetic. I don't let people, you know, do this and do that, versus like you have like good, evil, and neutral all in the same car.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good take. Fuck. God damn it. You're making this movie so much better, dude.
But at the same time, it's that righteousness of like, I am the sword of God. Like I am, you know, like I am Mills. I am the guy who will hunt you down. Blah, blah,
it's
blah.
like what you said about Batman, right? Like it's like corrupting the incorruptible, right? Like, I mean, like the Joker exists to corrupt Batman. Like, you know, like to break his one rule, to kill the Joker.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing is like, basically it's like John Doe killing Tracy is more like Heath Ledger killing Rachel Dawes to get to Harvey Dent. Like that's what that feels like more. It's like the cunning warrior strikes neither body nor mind. He strikes heart. And it's like, that's exactly what you went for to motivate that person. Because actually Two-Face is kind of similar to Mills. Like he is he has a very strict, like kind of moral code that can be bent to some degree
until his world is broken. Yeah.
Right, but then he also has like definitely anger issues. You know, that's good.
It's good stuff.
God, I'm smart.
Is Christopher Nolan a fucking hack? He's a fucking hack, isn't he? He stole this from fucking...
dude, now that I've seen this, I'm like, dude, there's definitely some Seven inspiration in there.
I'm seeing it too. And like, you know what? A lot of people like reference Hate, right, as the Dark Knight, big inspiration for Dark Knight. And it is. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot of Seven in there now for sure. Mills says, I keep coming home late. My wife's going to think something's up. Oh, God. God.
Well, the fact that you don't even make the phone call, like, I would love to see a scene where he's like, oh, I tried to call her, she's not home.
Yeah.
And then later realize, like, yeah, because her fucking head's in a box by a UPS guy.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you something. What do you make of the scene when they're saving their chest and Brad Pitt starts to say something and he just drops it and walks off? What the fuck is that about? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was interesting. I feel like maybe it's because his head's already like not in the right place. Like, you know, like it's kind of like I'm
kind of like hers.
Good. Sorry. That's a good one.
I got my head in a box.
That was actually really good. Yeah, no, I feel like he's not like he's overly committed to the task at hand. Like, you know, like he's too much into it to actually be able to converse with Somerset on a decent level. Like, you know, like I don't know. I feel like that part's up for interpretation quite a bit.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I just wondered what your take on it was. Like, I couldn't really make heads or tails of it, or is it just him being like, hey, you know, I almost like it would be such a tragedy for Mills to be like, you know what, I got a kind of funny feeling. I think I should call my wife, and him just brush it off and be like, nah. You know, it's like, oh. Yeah.
He's just like, did I leave the stove on? But yeah, so look, man, the music begins here, and like for this last 20 to 25 minutes, the music kind of never stops. Like it's just the horns coming back again. It's like whoom, whoom, and like it starts off very softly and it just escalates. And man, I'll never forget the score in this stretch of the movie. It begs you to be like fixated on the events that are unfolding, dude. Like it's like, yeah. If this was silent, like it's probably easier for someone to be, I guess, distracted or by something else, maybe in the room, whatever. But with this, Fincher, specifically with the score, is asking you to be invested. Like it's like I'm gonna draw you in. You know, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that now until you just said it, and I'm like, oh fuck, yeah.
No, totally, dude. Like this is I 100% remember being totally invested the first time I saw this. The SWAT load up in the helicopter, again with California, which is John C. McGillicuddy's character. Somerset and Mills drive Doe out to the boonies, and this kicks off this entire sequence. And I always consider this sequence as one scene. Like, you know, like although this is kind of like chopped up, like, you know, like when we leave, like it's not like one continuous shot or something. I always considered this to be like one whole act of the movie. Like, you know, it's just like, because the movie knows that it's now resting on the shoulders of Kevin Spacey to pull this off, right? You know, like it's like the script is even like, hey, Kevin Spacey, can you carry this, man? Like, can you?
Well, yeah, it's 20 minutes of the movie. It's like hour 40. They're in the car, and it's like, I mean, you know, up till 2 hours is the movie. Like, damn.
Yeah, totally. But again, like what I talked about, interestingly, this entire final sequence, there's no rain or bleakness. It's all broad daylight, right? Somerset asks Doe, who are you? And he says, it doesn't matter who I am doesn't matter. Doe wants people to listen, saying you have to hit them with a sledgehammer now, and that tapping people doesn't work anymore. He calls this, quote, his work. When this is done, when this is finished, it's going to be, people will barely be able to comprehend, but they won't be able to deny. Oh, man. And dude, I love, just after that, Mills immediately dismisses him as a freak. He calls him a freak. And it's just so dismissive and reductive. And I think even Somerset understands this. He's just like, dude, like you can see Somerset looking to his right at him in the passenger seat, and he's like, dude, don't do this. Like, don't keep dismissing him, dude. Like, don't keep, like, you know,
you're falling into the quicksand. It's like by dismissing him, it's kind of like, it actually makes me think of the cop in The Dark Knight who's like, you killed a lot of my friends, like blah blah blah, like that guy. It's like, I am provoking you intentionally.
Yeah.
Versus like, and I think that's why that's definitely why he goes after Mills and not Somerset, because I don't think you could provoke him. Like,
Totally.
I mean, maybe there is a badass when he fucking backhands him, you know, it's like, cool. That's the most you see Somerset lose control. That's the craziest part. It's like, yeah, he might bend the rules. Yeah, he might have, you know,
It's too late by
talked
that
a couple
point.
of dozen.
Yeah.
Right. Talked a couple dozen women into abortions, whatever. You know, but then, yeah, but yeah, that's the thing of like, at that point, he's like, dude, if I don't do something and lose a little bit of control to gain control, you know, he can't,
It's a last
he
ditch
basically can't. Right. It's almost, it really, when you're looking at it, it's like, it's like John Doe is the Joker, Somerset is Batman, and Mills is Two-Face. And that's what it feels like in this scene.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like even here, the next line is, "It's more comfortable for you to label me insane. I don't expect you to understand." That's what John Doe, and John Doe, by saying that, has Mills pegged, dude. Like he knows
Right.
it inside and out, and that's when you're like, oh fuck, this guy knows Mills better than Mills knows himself. Like, you know.
Right, it's easy. Like, yeah, well, it's the same thing for people who always have to have a rational explanation for, like, every door in your house could open and slam 3 times in a row, and someone would be like, oh, well, you know, it's probably
The wind.
and it's like, dude, you can't just let stuff go and not explain, you know. And I gotta say, I am kind of that person sometimes.
Yeah.
I am very much so. Like, no, that's bullshit. It's Aurora Borealis, or, you know, like, whatever it is.
It's ghosts.
But there are. Yeah, there are times you have to kind of realize that, like, just because I can't explain something doesn't mean that it is this. You know, it just means that there's not an explanation for it. But that's why I love, they're going way back to the beginning where Somerset was, you know, early Ermey's like, you know, yeah, you've had some cases that are considered unfinished business. He's like, I work those to the extent of my abilities.
Yeah.
And I can go to sleep. I can go to sleep doing that because I know I tried my hardest to do it. That's something Mills can't do. I don't think Mills can walk away just going, I tried my best. I think, I mean, eventually you'll have to if you don't have the evidence, but like just how brash and how hot-headed he is, I just don't see him as that type of guy that could live with that, you know?
Oh, I like that.
Which is ultimately why he's the one to shoot John Doe in the fucking head too.
Doe talks about his personal desire to turn sin against the sinner, and as he's going through the victims and justifications. It's really great to hear Kevin Spacey like starting to lose his cool, right? Like he's starting to raise his voice. He's starting to crack a little bit. But like where he's doing that is really telling, because he's getting frustrated with about talking about these kind of people. Like, you know, like just giving these people the time and effort to actually talk about them. He hates that. Like they're so beneath him, you know. Only in a world that you could even try to say that these were innocent people and keep a straight face. We see a deadly sin on every street corner in every home, and we tolerate it because it's common. It's trivial. Like, man, like I'd love to see John Doe react in the world of social media and Facebook, dude. Like it's like that'll be fantastic.
Part of me was like, I think he actually is kind of like, I think this is all a fucking hoax. I think this is him raising his voice and getting mad because it allows Mills to feel more comfortable in that kind of scenario and let him get mad and let him get pissed. It's like,
oh, I never thought about that.
Well, he's like, I need to engage you in a way that will, like, losing your cool will make you feel a little bit more uncomfortable. Or, I'm sorry, make you feel more comfortable. So I think that him screaming and stuff like that, I think the most he gets off his little thing is when he's like kind of swaying back and forth in the back. He's like, you excited? And he's like, yep. And I was like, that is what I think is genuine. But him getting pissed and like yelling and stuff, I mean, I guess it's open for interpretation, but I interpreted it. I interpreted it.
Sorry,
I interpreted it
with him. So you can fucking
I interpreted it as him basically like, yes, I do feel kind of passionate about this, but I'm doing this way more for you, to get you in the mood, basically. You know, I'm dirty talking, little pillow talk, little whispers in your ear. Maybe I go out and a little flick your tongue.
It's funny, dude, because I'd never considered that angle at all. Like that maybe he's like trying to trick him. I'd never thought about that. I just thought, this guy is so disgusted by humanity that he's fucking sick of talking about it. Or like he doesn't even consider them worth talking about. That, like, you know, like it's just like that to me was just how I interpreted it. But like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, I love this movie. Fuck. He says what he's done is going to be studied and followed forever. He's really getting in Mills's head, right? And I seem to remember breaking your face. You're only alive because I didn't kill you. And Mills again underestimates him, saying that he's no messiah, he's a movie of the week or a t-shirt at best. And again, Somerset, right after he says that, keeps glancing over at Mills as he's saying that, right? Like he's noticing that Mills is getting worked up and that he's trying to suppress what John Doe actually is and reducing him to a freak, which he is so much more than that, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Man, oh man, is the cinematography here incredible. Like this shot of the electrical towers, dude, as the car is just driving down the dirt road towards the foreground. Oh, beautiful. Stunning.
My favorites are all this with John Doe on his knees just looking at him, and it's like I actually like what's funny is you mentioned Fincher being like, I wouldn't have shot that so low. I love all of his low shots. Everything is like this like down angle looking up at stuff, and I actually really enjoy that.
It's good stuff. And again, like this is Howard Shore's score is still going, by the way, if you notice. It's like it's good stuff, man. We get the dead dog. I didn't do that. Jesus Christ.
I like that.
I know. SWAT circling as Doe asks for the time. 7:01. It's close, he says. And again, man, like just the suspense, the cinematography, the postal van begins to arrive, and like Mills is like, down. There he goes. It's good that we have some time to talk. And man, like this movie, and especially this moment, it's so hard to take notes for because I start to get so engrossed in what's happening, like as if I'm just seeing it again for the first time, like this entire final sequence. Because it's not like, here's another thing, dude. It's not like another crime, like a standard crime thriller where, you know, there's a big car chase or something and they, you know, apprehend the perpetrator. It's literally three people in a field talking to each other, like, you know, like with one, and the gun goes off.
Right.
Like, that's it. That's literally it. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like again, it's the simplicity of it.
Yes.
That I was like, I almost like, because I wonder right here again, like, is he so smart, or does he know him so well that he knows that no matter what, Mills is going to pull that trigger? Or is there some kind of contingency plan where John Doe will just break his cuffs off and stab both of them or something, you know, whatever it is.
But it's interesting. Interesting where exactly, because you can see where Mills decides to shoot, like the exact moment where he decides to shoot John Doe, and that's when he finds out about the baby. Like, you know, like, yeah, after he finds out about the baby, that's it. Death sentence. You're done. Like, there's no coming back.
Well, yeah, and he shoots Somerset a look, kind of like, you knew? Like, he almost gives him a look like, right. Wait, you knew? Like, and you, like, that's the, oh, sorry, my mustache is driving me crazy. There's something interesting about Civil the fact War, that it's
right? like Tony Stark looks over at Captain America and is like, did you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Well, yeah. Well, plus it's not only Captain America knowing, it's John knowing, and it's like the last person that should know this knows it before me, and it's like that's like, to me, so much insult to injury in that moment.
Totally, for sure. This guy got paid $500 to bring the package out here, set to drop it off at 7 p.m. And again, I love the guys in the helicopter. We got a box. Call the bomb squad. We got a box.
Yeah.
Love Somerset hesitating before he opens it, dude. Did you notice his hands? Like, as he's doing this, he's kind of like looking back and is like, I don't know about this. Like, he's doing this, yeah, dude. He's like, it's good stuff, man.
As long as I don't lose my voice, that's the moneymaker.
I am God. There's blood on the box. Somerset flinches when he opens it. And, okay, this is something that I wanted to talk about very briefly. A lot of people have claimed that they actually saw a shot of Gwyneth Paltrow's decapitated head inside the box, including Patrick Harrington in our comments, and including a couple of members from LSG Media, because they've covered this movie. So I remember hearing that in their episode. And this is on the internet, dude. Like, people have claimed to have seen that one shot of Gwyneth Paltrow's head in that box, but it never appeared in any cut of this movie ever. It's the Mandela.
Well, I was going to say, is it the moment where Somerset opens the box? Because it's like, you get like he you know, cuts it open. He opens the first two flaps, then he goes to open the second ones, and it just cuts like. But there is a shot where like you see maybe like a strand of hair.
I thought I saw. Did we? Okay, is that there? Because I thought I saw it, but I don't know if it is.
Well, it's different. Once he opens the box, there's almost like it's at a different angle, but dude, it looks like there's this little strand of hair hanging out of the box, like when it's like shot lower to the ground. But see, here's the thing. I disagree saying that has never been put to film because they had her head made. Like it's out there. You can find it. So like, it's a funny story. So Gwyneth Paltrow did this movie like Contagion or something.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of it, they go and do like an autopsy on her character and they reused her head from Seven. So I don't know if maybe they made it and it just never got it to film. I mean, if David Fincher will spend $15,000 on notebooks, I could see him getting a head made and be like, nah, don't worry about it. But apparently that's immediately the prop that they used was, and I think it's in Contagion. I think it's like 2011 movie, but her character right at the beginning, they're doing like an autopsy and they cut her fucking scalp off in the movie and you're like, oh shit. But they said they just reused her head from Seven.
Okay, so I've got something here from, there's a quote from Arnold Coppelson, who's the producer. So he was one of the ending's earlier posers, but he eventually came around. We attempted many different endings and none worked. It needed the horrendous event to kick off the last sin, Wrath. He says he gave his okay when Fincher assured him that the audience would not see Tracy's head in the box, leaving much of the horror up to the imagination. Coppelson credits Fincher with maintaining intensity at the end of the film. So Fincher also embraced creative risk. He employed shaky camera to enhance action. And yeah, that's it. Interesting. So people are convinced they see their head in the box just because of Morgan's performance, I guess.
Well, and I want to be completely honest too. Like when Mills is going back and forth with Gunn, not sure if he wants to shoot him. There is absolutely a flash of her face.
Yes,
but it's not her head. I mean, there's definitely a flash of her face. So I can understand why subliminally you might think that you saw that, but it's not there.
That flash also, just a quick little trivia. That comes exactly 7 minutes before the end of the movie.
Damn it. I read that.
Yeah, pretty awesome. But yeah, man, like this is a Mandela effect. And like this is something that is mentioned quite a bit when people misremember things. Like, like it's kind of like, I thought I experienced that, but I actually didn't. Like, a lot of people also believe that it's her unborn baby in the box, but that doesn't really work. Considering that John Doe actually says her pretty little head. So, I don't know.
Well, that and she would be like a week pregnant.
Exactly.
It'd be like nothing.
Exactly. But I know that is a popular theory. So, the horns intensify. Somerset's reaction tells us everything, right? Like tells SWAT to stay away and that Doe has the upper hand. Doe's purchased information from a police colleague disguised as media, tried to taste the life of a simple man. It didn't work out. So I took a souvenir, her pretty little head. And then do you want to do it? Do you want to do what was in the box?
No, I've done it enough. You take the reins.
What's in the box? I mean, yeah.
It is a little distracting.
Parodied it's everywhere. I guess, I 100% get that it's been, it was distracting the first time around. I think more and more as I come to watch it, this to me becomes one of my favorite Pitt moments. Only because it's just kind of like he's piecing so much together. Like, at that same time, it seems that envy is my sin. The one line I do not like in this movie, and it's right here. It's become vengeance, David, become wrath. I don't need that. I'm good. I don't need it.
I like it.
God damn it.
I like it.
Well,
plus I like it because it's almost more to himself where he's like, come on, David, become vengeance. Like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's not like he's like, come on, David, do it, David. Like, because he knows he doesn't even really have to do it. Here, this is kind of I know this might totally piss some people off or whatever. The ending that I was really hoping for was if whatever was in the box was basically not her head. Like if it was a woman that looked very similar, or if it was like a dummy head, and basically he got Mills to shoot him even though his wife was not dead. Like I pushed you to a point where you shot a man who didn't, not an innocent man, but basically you shot
psychologically
me for no Right. I tricked you, and I was like, oh shit. Like I not only did you break your rule for a good reason. You broke it for no reason at all because your wife is still alive.
That's cool.
Oh shit.
That's cool. I like that. I don't know if that lines up with Doe's kind of like.
Nah, probably not.
Like, you know, like I feel like he's brutal because he just doesn't like people. Like, you know, like it's just one of those things. Here's a question for you. Do you think if Somerset had told Mills about the pregnancy beforehand, this would have gone a different way?
Ooh,
I'm going to say yes.
Because he wouldn't have been so like, not only is your wife dead, but now you find out that your unborn child is dead as well. And it's like, I think I can kind of see
because
him.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of this is instinct, right? Like a lot of this is, you know, I just found out that my wife is dead. I just found out that not only was she pregnant, but my unborn child is pregnant as well. So he's processing all of this on the spot, and his first instinct is to murder John Doe, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's, you know, it's like the guy who comes home, or, you know, whoever comes home and finds their significant other like having an affair and they murder both the people. It's like, yeah, it's like a spontaneous act of like rage. Yeah. Like you kind of can't. Yeah, I mean, it's almost, not saying it's justifiable, but it's definitely understandable. Like, do you think Mills actually, like, what do you think happens to Mills? Do you think he, like, serves time? Think he actually has, I mean, I don't think anything happens. I think he's definitely not a cop anymore, I can tell you that. I was like, but I don't think there's any court or prison or anything. I really don't.
I think he's definitely not a cop. I think there's some time. I think there is some time, for sure, because there's just too many witnesses. I mean, SWAT of watching this happen. It's just,
I think there's temporary insanity like a motherfucker, dude. Yeah. Like, to find out imagine your lawyer being like, if someone told you they just cut your wife's head off and left it in a box, and then you're also let you know that your wife was pregnant. I think anybody in the right mind would be like, yeah, not only did you kind of do us a solid because we keep this guy on death row for like 9 months and shit, like you saved us that with like 4 9mm bullets. Now, I don't think you could find a fucking jury to convict. I really don't.
I
don't think so.
I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough, like, because he did it. He was pushed into doing it, but he did it. And it's not like, you know, he didn't have the opportunity to back off. Like, there's there's barely any mitigating factors here. Like, you know, there's just there's pure, like, I pushed you into this situation and I made you pull the trigger, but you did it all on your own. You pulled the trigger all on your own. No one had a gun to your head. This was not, there was no undue influence, right? Like, it was 100, like, that's the word, I'm pretty sure, undue influence. There's no kind of, like, third party with a sniper, like, 100 miles away. Like, you know, if you don't pull this trigger, like, whatever. Like, it's 100% all on Mills, and there's witnesses. There's impartial witnesses, right? Like, I mean, because Somerset's too close to this. He can't be used as a witness. But California and the SWAT team up in the helicopter, they're third-party witnesses. Like, they will 100% be called. So I think that a good prosecutor will be able to find a decent jury that, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, he did. I wouldn't say murder. I'd say manslaughter. I wouldn't say murder. Murder's a bit strong. Like, murder's because, like, there's no. You don't really need premeditation for murder, but there's no premeditation here. It's just,
it's definitely there's no. That's what I'm saying. Like, it feels more like a knee jerk. Reaction to, like, you know, like I think that there will be a strong case for, like, dude, you're a detective, you're a homicide, you know, police officer. You can't just shoot an unarmed man who's handcuffed on the ground. Like, that's insane, especially nowadays. Holy shit. But it's like, but I think once any good lawyer gets in there and it's just like, put yourself in this guy's shoes, most people be like, I see it. Like, there'll be some fucking asshole who's like, I don't care what would happen. I would never do it. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah. Let's 12 Angry Men this shit, right?
Yeah, right.
Now, I got another question for you. Oh no, go on.
Go ahead.
So another question, right? Do you think John Doe's plan is studied over and interpreted and talked about as much as he thinks it will? Like, you know?
No, I think that it definitely will be studied over and stuff, but it's not going to be like, You know, he does have some kind of delusions of grandeur.
Yes.
Like, I do think he really puts a little bit too much stock in himself, where it's like, man, you know, we're in some unnamed town where, like, I haven't even seen, you know, I know we don't really see a whole lot of the outside world, but if this place is as bad as it is, your fucking murders aren't even going to crack an egg on the sidewalk, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that means nothing. Like,
well,
and not that it
here's
means
something
nothing.
that's interesting. Like, just while you're on that point, sorry, like, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no.
But here's something, especially nowadays, the news cycle is so short. Like, you know, like with the this will be exactly what you were saying. Like, people will forget about this in like a week. Like when the next big thing happens, you know?
Right. It's just gonna be a flash in the pan. It's gonna be, you have your 15 minutes and then it's up. Because something else will come along where it's like, this guy would cut people and wear them inside out like a suit and then jack off inside of them. And it's like, okay, well, here's the new fucking crazy dude that blah, blah, blah. But yeah, especially with modern day, with like the whole people like serial killer subculture of people that have like their favorite serial killers and stuff like that. I think modern day probably way more, you know, just psychologically. I think psychologically, yeah, it'll be studied like a motherfucker. But I think in the way that he means it, he thinks people are going to look at him and be like, you know, I kind of think he had a point. Like, I don't know. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you, dude. Like, I think it will be studied over, like, you know, maybe a random case file episode a couple years later. But like, it's just like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, I don't think it'll be as prolific as he thinks it is. But it will be interesting. Like, you know, like I think that is an interesting question, especially nowadays, considering how short the news cycle is. Like, you know, but yeah, man, like Mills is hauled away. Somerset asked the captain to give him whatever he needs, right? Like, this is Somerset kind of like making sure that Mills will get what he, like any help or whatever help he deserves. And Somerset says he will be around, right? Like, this is interesting because this is like Somerset is not taking. I take that as like Somerset not leaving. Like, you know, him saying that it will be
same
around.
Here.
Like, he then says, he quotes Hemingway, who says, "The world is a fine place." I agree with the second part, which is interesting because this whole kind of like situation has kind of restored some faith in the world for him, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the whole situation is kind of like not restored his faith, but at the same time, I think that being around Mills could probably serve as an inspiration to like, this is what you probably once were, kind of thing. I think maybe it's not an inspiration where he's like, you know, you've inspired me, I'm going to go back and do this, but I think he does kind of reconsider the reasons why he's leaving, most likely.
Yeah, I like that take. And then we get credits, dude. The first credit, interestingly, that comes up is Kevin Spacey. Like, that's pretty slick. And I'll tell you another thing. I love how the credits go backwards. Like, it scrolls up instead of down. Like, that, I just thought that was really slick. But man, that's fucking Se7en. That is Se7en.
Nice.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you what, I was so like intimidated about this particular episode because this is just something that, you know, it's one of those list movies, right? We talk about the list all the time. Like, you know, we have movies on our like mental list where we're just like, oh man, I don't know if I'm confident enough to cover that or do it justice. And I can tell you right now, man, this is beyond a doubt one of my favorite episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, dude, I really... fuck you, I'm going into final thoughts.
Go, please. Let me just give it a real quick listener comment. Sorry, I'm like, it's real quick because it's only two people. Patrick said, could have sworn I saw some hair blowing out of that box. Nope.
I swear to God, I saw a strand of hair. And I was like, dude,
you know what? I'm gonna fucking, after this, go check it out because
I'm gonna screenshot this shit.
Okay, and put it in the respond to Patrick. And Craig Daly just says, brilliant film. That's it. Short and sweet. I love it. But yeah, go into final thoughts, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it a lot. I mean, there's still, it's one of those movies where, you know, I don't have the same appreciation for it as you do, but that's not a problem. Like, I think we could still probably sit here and talk for another hour about some of the stuff. Like, I even thought about an ending. Like, I would love to see an ending where oh my God, my brain is turning to mush. I forgot his name. Not Mills.
Somerset.
Not Mills. Somerset. I was like, Stormbreaker? I was like, no, Somerset. I would love to see an ending where Somerset has to shoot Mills, and he's like, basically because he knows, he's like, actually, he was not Wrath, you were. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, I'd love to see something where the tables were turned, like, kind of thing. And I think it's interesting when Somerset shows up and he immediately throws his gun on the ground and he's like, put your goddamn gun down now. And it ends up being this thing of like, fuck, man. Like, part of me also wonders, so I think if Somerset had just stepped right in front of John Doe and been like, shoot me. Like, you'll have to kill me to go to him. I don't think he would have done it. I think he would have been like, fuck, dude, I can't do it.
That ruins everything.
But all in all, there's so much, I feel like there's still so much we could chase our tails around the Maypole, just having fun with these kind of movies. It's like you say so much, yet so little in 3.5 hours, like of a podcast
100%,
episode.
dude, seriously.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the kind of movies that I enjoy covering because it's so funny to see. Like, I'll do like Gone in 60 Seconds or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and you're like, let's do End of Watch and fucking Seven. Like, Jesus Christ, dude!
You know what? Like
trying to get me to.
We're covering fucking Gone in 60 Seconds, and I'm just like, oh fuck! Fuck! There's nothing to talk about there. Cut to 2 hours later.
Jesus, made me want to take a bath in razor blades with your fucking picks, dude. Like, Jesus Christ.
Love it.
No, but yeah, obviously there's a lot more substance on these episodes than something like Lock, Stock or, Gone in 60 Seconds. But at the same time, it's nice to kind of like, those picks of mine were almost intentional to like, I just want to have like some fun and pick like a movie that's not like Prisoners and not, something that you don't really have to strain too much to think something is not going to be a 3.5 hour long episode. No, I'm just kidding. But it's fun to do those, and it's fun at the same time to kind of bring it back around as well and be like, okay, well, now let's do a movie where we can actually sit down and have like a good conversation about like, what is this movie about? And that's one of the things I kind of kept thinking was, what exactly is this movie trying to say? Like, what is the actual, and I think ultimately that the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it's like, that's up for everybody's interpretation. I think for me, honestly, at the end of the day, it's hard for me to walk away with any kind of hope from this movie. But I think that the focus ends up being on, like, at the end of this movie, seven people are dead, right? We've got gluttony, we've got greed. 8?
Gwyneth Paltrow?
We'll see, because Brad Pitt is Wrath, so that's 1 out of those 7 not in there. So Gwyneth Paltrow would be the 7th.
My bad. Yeah, fuck.
No.
Moron.
So at the end of it, 7 people are dead, but she was the pawn used for Wrath. Yeah. So she's kind of in that anyways. But it's interesting to me that at the end of the movie, 7 people are still dead. So part of me is like, was the point of the movie the whole thing with Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow or John Doe, or was the point of the movie more so for Somerset? Because the movie starts and ends on him. So it's like, is the movie starting with this guy who's basically lost all hope in humanity and is quitting his job, and it's just like, I fucking hate this place and there's no reason for me to keep doing this? Is the point of the movie to show somebody that even though you've been through the ringer and have been doing this for years, that somebody out of nowhere could come through and inspire you to become something else and inspire you to...
That's what I take from it. That's what I get from it. Like,
right.
Yeah, especially considering that the movie bookends on Somerset. Like, he's definitely the main character.
Right. And that's kind of like, I wonder how much Somerset walks away. Actually, what's crazy is I think that Mills will have the same kind of conversation that Somerset had later on, where Somerset's like, even though I know I did the right thing, I wish I had made a different choice. And I think at the end of the day, Mills will probably go, even though I know I did the right thing, I wish I'd made a different choice.
I've never pieced that together.
I think that's
kind of awesome.
I think that's what's kind of interesting, is seeing their reactions to the world changing around them and exactly what their the reactions or proactive things are. But that's kind of, at the end of the day, I think it's more about Somerset kind of being like, this not grizzled, but really just this kind of tainted, cynical guy who at the end of the day is just like, once you see something so violent and so... It's kind of like, that's when you see something so much younger than you you grow up and there's kids that are younger than you, and then unfortunately, kids get sick or kids die or, car accidents and shit happens, and you're like, fuck, it's so much worse. Like when you're younger and someone older than you dies, it feels so much natural. But being Somerset and seeing both these people, their lives just absolutely destroyed and put through the ringer, but they were put through the ringer for what Mills believed in, of like, no, this world, this is the only thing that makes sense is if you force it to, kind of thing. And I like that, where I think it kind of reignites Stormbreaker's no, I'm just kidding. it reignites them to kind of, it's almost like somebody bringing the torch to the lighthouse that's been out for a long time. And I actually really, really enjoy that. I think it's also showing him where like Mills has built this guy up as Satan, as the fucking devil. This guy is the end all be all of evil. And what's funny is hearing, Jesus Christ, dude, I'm Somerset. Jesus, I got Stormbreaker in my head and couldn't get it out. I think there's something interesting about Somerset being like, no, he's just a guy. He's not this pure evil. And it's like, no, but you were not the one at the mercy of the pure evil. He was. And it's like, oh shit. Like he's almost like your own personal kind of hell as this John Doe guy.
It's kind of like the canary in the coal mine, right? Like Mills is.
Wait, say it again?
He's kind of like the canary in the coal mine, kind of like, this is your sacrificial lamb, right? Like this thing will die before you, and like for nefarious purposes or whatever. This will notify. This is here to warn you, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. For sure. I think that it's kind of the warning shot for him to be like, dude, there's still time for me to make that right decision later on. Maybe like, even though I've made things that I'm not proud of or wish I had done differently, I can still end my career on maybe something else besides this. Really, it could also just be Somerset at the end going, I can't let my career end on that, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I can't end on that shit,
For sure, dude.
That's my final thought.
Holy shit, that went on for 8 years. No, I'm kidding. But no, man, like this is, I think you 100% hit the nail on the head. Like this movie brings up a interesting and amazing conversation, and for the last 3.5 hours, something that I've absolutely enjoyed. We talked about this very briefly on our bonus episode, where we talked about episodes that we'd remake, and you talked about you're like, oh, movies like Baby Drive, oh, like the Edgar Wright movies, I'd just turn around and cover them again like immediately.
Yeah,
a lot of the times I'm just like, with a movie like this, and where we've dedicated so much time and effort to like podcasting about it, I'm just like, I'm good. I will not talk about this movie for the next 5 years because I'm just so like, I've left it all on the podcast, dude. Like, I'm so glad that I get to be able to say that here at the end of this podcast, that it's just like, here it is. It's it's uncut. It's unabridged. It's all here. These are our thoughts on it. This is our take on it. I'm glad that you love the movie. Like, this is honestly, I remember, dude, I didn't get a wink of sleep last night. No, I did. I did. It's just like, because you told me you'd never seen it, and I'm like, oh my god, is he gonna hate it? But at the same time, I was like, there's no way he's gonna hate it. Like, I know for a fact, I know what you like, and I know that you will at least like this. Like, So it's just like, I know that you're at least going to appreciate it, even if you don't like it. But I'm glad that it kind of like a bit beyond that, And I know you don't often give into like hype or like the hype machine and like, people like building up a particular thing, and that because like then you're just kind of like setting yourself up for disappointment. So like I'm glad that it kind of like somewhat reached that level, like like it got up to that point, which is great. I think that this is one of the greatest films of all time. I think it is a movie that changes pretty much on every watch that you do. I think you find different things about it. I think it has this fantastic conversation about life and death, and about becoming the person that you're eventually meant to become, and like the way of the world. I think the the visual aesthetic of this film is absolutely incredible and unrivaled. I haven't seen a movie that really looks like this until the closest I can think of is Zodiac, and even Zodiac doesn't look anything like this. Like, because
because a lot of people have said you can really see the influence from Se7en and Zodiac. Totally different directors. No, I'm just kidding.
But like, you know what, man? Like, it's dripping with like Fincher's sauce, and like that's all I can see. Like, you know, it's just like it's these like really like because he shoots in digital. Like, I'm pretty sure this was shot in film because we didn't have digital back then. But Gone Girl was shot in digital, but it looks like film. Like, it's got that grainy kind of like quality about it. And it's just like, man, I cannot wait to see your new movie, which is out this year. We're getting a fucking another Fincher film this year called Mank, where Gary Oldman is the lead.
I didn't know about that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's going to Netflix, actually. But yeah, that should be good. Fincher's one of my favorite directors of all time. I'm really glad to have covered this movie. Glad to finally have covered it. Again, this has been on my mind since we started this. This was, if we had finished the podcast, we'd wrapped it up and we hadn't covered Se7en, I would have been like, well, that's a fucking missed opportunity. Like, that would have been like, well, why did we not cover this? Like, it was just 100% bucket list movie that we had to cover. And I had a great time fucking covering this, dude. It was awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Close this out because I'm done.
Yeah, I guess
I'm done.
Yeah. Final thoughts, listener comments. Guys, just because we haven't done it yet, if you want to find us on any of our socials, we're on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. We have a group attached to that called the After Party. Everybody's invited. You can find us on Twitter at MDF Pod or on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature. Shoot us an email, midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. We also have a Breaking Bad podcast called Bad Crystal. I'm just getting cracking on the second season of that pretty soon. And then, if you want to check out our main hub is really midnightdoublefeature.com. Any news, anything that you guys are wondering about, we've got merch there, coffee mugs, t-shirts, everything that you want to check out that's going to be the main hub. That's going to be our Justice League headquarters, our battle room. That's going to be our neon cross above our bed is going to be midnightdoublefeature.com. As always, please stop by, rate and review us on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. We hope you enjoyed this mammoth of an episode. I know I had a lot of fun covering it. And we will catch you guys on the next episode, okay? Bye-bye.